Welcome to the 3rd District Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Legislative Lobby Day. This is a session that we've had every year since probably about 6 or 7 years ago. Most of the time it's done around the Martin Luther King holiday. And this year we're going to do it a little different. Uh, we are usually at the Capitol meeting with the delegates there. But this year what we're going to do is we're going to do it virtual. I'd like to say a word of thanks to um, Brother Delegate Cliff Hayes and Brother Delegate Luke Torrin for their support in helping to put this thing together. They have been very helpful in making sure that each time they invite guests in to speak to us and share information so we understand what's going on in the Capitol. We like to take this opportunity to give us opportunities to discuss issues that are coming up for consideration, and anything that we can potentially support, we try to do that. So as we go forward now, I would like to stop now and introduce our district representative, Brother Conrado Morgan.
Greetings to all. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. His birthday was on January 15th, or his birthday is on January 15th. I hope that you will find this annual 3rd District Legislative Lobby Day virtual, useful, and that something would be said that will move you to continue to vote and to lead at the local, state, and national levels. I also bring you greetings on behalf of the 1,890 brothers and 43 chapters of the 3rd District of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, which is the birthplace of Omega in Washington, D.C. and Virginia. I look forward to this event every year. This one is special. Thanks to Brother Fairchild, Robert Fairchild, our political action chairman and his committee, Brother Dr. State Delegate Luke Torrey, Brother State Delegate Cliff Hayes, and Brother Cornelius Bideman and his automation committee. And to all the elected officials that will come before us, we thank you. In addition, we would like to thank Brother Jeff Topley, Social Action Chairman for the 3rd District, and Brother James Barber, Chairman, Voter Registration and Education and Mobilization, for their actions and work for the last national election and all the work that they do for VREM. What happened at our national capital about 2 Wednesdays ago was wrong, totally wrong. And they all must pay a debt for their cowardly acts towards or against the United States of America. Please enjoy this history-making event, because this is the first one we've done at the 3rd District virtually, and we do these annually. So we appreciate everyone visiting. Thank you very much. Brother Fairchild, back to you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. I would also like to call attention to a young lady that's here to support us. She works with Delegate, in the wrong building, with Delegate Hayes, Cheryl Reddington. Cheryl, would you like to say a few words to everybody?
I would just like to welcome you to the Legislative Lobby Day. It's always exciting to be with the Omega men, and I look forward to it every year. Sorry that we're not together in person, but I hope that everybody will enjoy today. We have a lot of speakers lined up, so I hope that everybody will get fired up and get engaged and stay active in civic duties. And I also would like to introduce a new member of our team here in Delegate Hayes's office. Her name is Tawana Witherspoon. And Tawana, would you like to unmute and just say hello so you'll pop up on the screen?
Good morning.
There we go.
Morning.
Crank our volume up.
How are you all?
Okay.
Good to
Welcome.
be here. This is new to me. I thank Cheryl and Delegate Hayes for bringing me on. And I'm interested in listening and finding out everything that I can and keeping up with what is happening with you guys and everyone else and being of help in any way I can.
Okay, thank you very much. We welcome you. And I know working with Cheryl and Cliff has been a good experience for it, and I'm sure you'll add to that. So we thank you very much for your presence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I'd like to say thank you very much, because you've been very, very supportive of us in the past, and you were very helpful. And again, thank you. It feels a little different this year. I remember the one year we were down there and then we had to kind of wait outside. I think it was about 17 degrees. I couldn't And when I got to my vehicle, nothing worked. Hands, feet, nothing. But anyway, it was a
It was
good.
cold.
It was cold, very cold. But this year we have the pleasure of doing this virtually, and it's a little different. But we'll work through it. Okay. Before we get started, I just want to give you. We have a few minutes to kill here, so I want to highlight a couple of points that's going to happen here. We have individuals scheduled in at particular times, starting, like I said, 9 o'clock. Of course, the first one, I don't know if Delegate Hayes or Delegate Torrin would be, but I know their names are at the top of the list. But it seems like they will probably pop in for a few minutes. But the first person that after them would be the Attorney General, Mark Herring, and he will have 10 minutes. We have quite a few people listed, and therefore, just for your own information, we will probably give them about maybe 2.5 minutes to speak and try to keep them on point so that we can get everybody in. Um, I'm going to politely remind them that they have about 2 minutes to share their thoughts with us. So that means if based on the amount of time they take, questions, if they have a question, if you have a question for them, we may be able to accept a question. We may be able to get a question into them for them to respond to it, but we won't have a lot of time for a long conversation. We're going to try to manage the time on each participant so that we don't get behind schedule because we'd like to get everybody and get everybody out the opportunity to speak to us. We also anticipate that the lieutenant governor will also be on and also the governor. And we want to certainly give them the appropriate respect and time to share their thoughts with us. Okay. So in the meantime, like I said, we have a few minutes here before uh, Cheryl, do you know if Delegate Hayes will make it in or not?
He should, he has a committee that he chairs that starts at 9. So
Fairchild, he's on. I'm sorry to
He's on?
interrupt.
I was going to say, I
Okay.
thought he might pop in early.
Okay. Delegate Hayes, are you here?
Good morning, brothers. Good morning,
Good.
Brother
Good morning to
Fairchild,
you.
and to our DR, Brother Conrad Morgan, Mr. DR. We appreciate you. All of the brothers, we appreciate you for our annual Omega Day at the Capitol. And certainly, as you can see and know, those who've experienced the Omega Day at the Capitol experience with us over the years, you'll know that I have um, the greatest staff, and I'm in the General Assembly when it comes to legislative affairs. My chief of staff, Cheryl Moody Reddington, she's been a tremendous help to the brothers over the years, and she'll certainly stand ready to help today. Delegate Torian and I are both chairmen of significant community committees in the House of Delegates. And so we're going to have to be kind of popping in and out, if you will. And we've invited a number of special guests to come on today. As you know, you are family. And as in the case of me growing up in my neighborhood with my parents, we had a little secret, if you will, that we would always invite people who meant us well, the family well, up on the porch and in the house. Those who were not considered friends, we would just kind of talk to them out at the curbside, if you will. That was the signal to our parents of who we knew was good for us. I just want to say to the brothers, today, I would not invite anybody that I didn't believe would be good for us. And so you'll have a plethora of members of the General Assembly today who Brother Fairchild has as a schedule, and they'll be back to back coming in, popping in, sharing with the legislation that's going on this General Assembly session. I do apologize. My Communications, Technology, and Innovation Committee meeting is about to start, and so I'm about to go hop on that. But Delegate Torian is expected to join you pretty soon in the next few minutes or so. If not, Brother Fairchild certainly has the list, and we all know the significant, awesome capabilities of our former DR, Brother Fairchild, and the great work that he does with these issues, not only in the 3rd District, but in the country as he leads efforts politically as we go to the Capitol in Washington, D.C. So thanks so much, brothers. We appreciate you. Cheryl will be happy to share with you the legislation that I have during the session as well. So y'all be blessed, and we'll see you in just a bit.
As Brother Morgan again, thank you again. And thanks for everybody who's participating, just joined the line. Remember, all politics starts at the local level. Voting, registration, polls, working the polls, and counting votes are all done at the local level. To the young people on the Zoom call, please ensure you stay registered to vote, and please vote. Do not let your vote go uncounted. There are some people that died for the right to vote, even to register to vote. We look forward to President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris being sworn in, and them making this COVID-19 the main effort and to get rid of this virus. Please visit our website to get additional information for voter registration at thirddistrictqs.org. Remember also to make politics and voting a family affair. What I do, or what I suggest that you do also, is call, email, text, Facebook, Instagram, DM, and TikTok your family members when it's time to vote, when it's time to register, and when it's time to work the polls. Remember, 2022 is coming back with a bang, and we must be ready to vote and support ideas and thoughts of our families and people that support them. Also, Omega has a new political PAC, and it's called the Omega Network for Actions. And Brother Graham Bosses has put that on the plate also. And he sends his regards also as well. Brother David, Dr. Marion, 41st Grand Bosses. Just a few talking points I wanted to get off my chest there, Brother Fairchild. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother DR. I understand that Brother Torin is on board. Brother Torin, hello and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Delighted to be with you.
The floor is yours.
Okay. Good morning, brothers and everyone on the call. Thank you so very much for allowing me to join you this morning. I truly appreciate the opportunity to be with you. I am Delegate Luke Torrey, and I represent the 52nd District here in Prince William County. That consists of portions of Occoquan, Dale City, Woodbridge, Triangle, and Quantico. I have been a member of the House of Delegates for 11 years. I currently serve on 3 committees. I serve on the Rules Committee, I serve on the General Laws Committee, and I am also the chair of the Appropriations Committee. And it is an exciting time to be a member of the Virginia General Assembly and recognizing the work that we're able to do on the behalf of the citizens of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Want to share with you that in regards to my initiatives this year as chairman of the Appropriations Committee, it is my responsibility to oversee the passage of our budget. We have passed a 2-year biennium budget from 2020 to 2022. And that budget is about $140 billion that we are responsible for. And we work very closely with the administration to make sure that we cover some of the governor's priorities and also some of the priorities of the General Assembly. When we do the budget, I have several priorities that are important to me. And they are the following. I want to ensure that we continue to do all that we can to support higher ed, that we, in the midst of this pandemic, that we invest appropriate dollars towards healthcare and infrastructure and transportation. For me is very important. Living here in Northern Virginia, we all recognize that transportation is important. And so as we work on our infrastructure, that is very meaningful as well. So those are going to be some of the priorities that I will be focusing on. And again, the number one priority is to ensure that we pass a budget that speaks to the issues and concerns and the well-being of the citizens of the Commonwealth of Virginia in the midst of this pandemic that we're going through. And I will share with you that we are within the top 5 of the best managed states in the Commonwealth and in the United States of America. So we do a great job with the administration and the General Assembly ensuring that we bring jobs to the Commonwealth and that we manage the resources of the Commonwealth in a manner that reflects our responsibility, and that we also continue to have a great credit rating as well. So with that said, sir, I'm open to any questions. I think we have Brother Hayes, my colleague, with us. And I think after he perhaps have had a chance to speak, we'll be open to taking any questions that you all may have. Thank you so very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Brother Torrin. Brother Hayes has already, he spoke earlier.
Oh,
And
really?
I think he went to deal with his committee. So
Okay.
we were waiting for you.
Okay, fantastic. Well, if there are any questions that you all have for me, sir, I'll be willing to do my very best to address them.
Brother Bideman?
Yes, brother Fairchild, we do have a question.
Okay.
And this comes from Delray Brown. The question is, what legislation is being pushed to limit or move qualified immunity that has been a detrimental to the African American community?
That is going to be an issue. I'm not exactly sure who the patron of the legislation is, but qualified immunity will be a piece of legislation that we will address. The court, it will go before the courts committee, and it will be addressed by the courts committee. And then if it comes out of committee with a favorable vote, then it'll come before the full House. You all do know that Democrats, we do have the majority within the House, and if the committee moves the legislation forward relative to qualified immunity, then it is certainly to pass the House. And remember, the process is that if legislation passes the House, then it goes over to the Senate. If it gets a favorable approval from the Senate, then it goes to the governor for his signature.
Okay, thank you.
Brother Fairchild, I tried to raise my hand. This is Brother Morgan.
What up? Brother Morgan?
Yes. So Brother Turing, quick question for you. How well are we prepared to deal with any issues that may happen?
When you say how well are we prepared to deal with any issue that may happen, give me an example, please.
Like I'm talking about for the inauguration.
Yes, sir. We are well prepared. I was on a call with the governor this morning at 7:30, and the report that he gave to those of us on the call, we have dispersed 2,000 National Guard members to the nation's capital for the inauguration. But however, be assured, when I left Richmond on Friday, we were fortifying the Capitol, ensuring that it was secure and that we have available to us members of the National Guard of Virginia and the state police, along with the Capitol Police, that is protecting the Capitol there in Richmond. And we're very well fortified. And some of the permits that we had previously issued for folks who come to town to lobby, they have been withdrawn. Today is a big day in Richmond because we have the NRA and the Second Amendment folks who are coming to town. Normally they would come to town and have maybe 20 to 25,000 people in Richmond. But the report that we got is that has been augmented and adjusted. And they're basically doing a drive-through today in Richmond, and they're bringing about a parade of about 5,000 cars in Richmond today. But we have shut down several streets to mitigate any activities that would be occurring in Richmond.
I just want to clarify. You said five. Run that again. How many people?
It's 5,000 cars. Yes. That was the report that was given to us. We had a security briefing on Friday, And during the course of the security briefing, that is a report that was given to us that we could anticipate that occurring today. So what is happening, as you know, the House, we are meeting virtually. So members of the House, only a very few members will be in Richmond today.
Okay.
But the Senate is meeting at the Science Museum. So they're there, but they have the utmost security. No one will be able to get to them. They have state police that will surround the Science Museum, and they're very well protected. The one person that will be in the Capitol today will be the Speaker of the House, and she does not move without having security. So she has the best security, and so we believe that we're in good shape today.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for that update. That's right now with all the crazy stuff going on, that's a real concern, especially people's safety. It's kind of sad that we have to have a situation where we have to protect our legislative people from violence and stuff. Let's hope one day we can knock that nonsense off. But anyway, thanks very much for the update. Brother Bideman, that's I like the way you did that. So when in the future when the questions pop up, you can do just what you did. That was great. Thank you very much. Cheryl, is you mentioned that the Attorney General's administrative system is on board?
Actually, the Attorney General is on now.
Oh, good. Okay.
If you'd like to introduce him and invite him in to speak.
Yes, please. Mr. Mark Herring, we would appreciate, Attorney General, we'd appreciate your speaking to us, and thank you for being here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, it's good to see you, and thank you so much for inviting me. And it is great to be able to gather with you all again during the legislative session, albeit virtually, and to share with you a little bit of the work that we're doing. Before I get started, though, I would like to just emphasize how important it is to take time throughout the day today to remember and to honor and celebrate the work and the life's work of Dr. Martin Luther King. And as I reflect on the events of the past year, I just reminded that it is as important as ever to make sure that we are following his example and confront injustice and use our voices to confront injustice and make those wrongs right. And again, as I reflect over the past 12 months, it's as important as ever. And also wanted to take just a moment, I don't know if they're in the room, but I wanted to thank Chairman Torian and Delegate Hayes for extending an invitation to me. And they are doing incredible work, and I cannot think of better partners than the two of them to have working for all of us. They do a fantastic job, not only for their constituents, but for the entire Commonwealth. And so I wanted to thank them. And while it's only a couple of weeks into the new year, my team and I have really hit the ground running. Just last week, I announced the creation of the Virginia's first Conviction Integrity Unit to expand and enhance our ongoing work to identify and overturn wrongful convictions. And this will be a distinct team within my office with a singular focus on evaluating and investigating claims of wrongful conviction and taking proactive steps to overturn those wrongful convictions, as well as implement important changes in the law that will finally allow for more wrongly convicted people to pursue their claims in courts. And when the Commonwealth gets it wrong, it has to say so and do everything we can to make it right. And I have had to do that as Attorney General, and speaking with someone who's wrongly convicted, you can't get those years back. And so that's why it is so critically important to have this unit together. And this will show an unprecedented commitment to ensuring justice and to righting wrongs wherever we see them. Our system of criminal justice cannot be just about getting convictions and defending convictions in defiance of logic and new evidence. It has to be about justice and a pursuit of truth. and guard against prosecutorial misconduct or institutional racism or bias or mistakes that could cost an innocent person their freedom. And now we have a dedicated unit to do that. And then just a couple of weeks ago, I announced the creation of the Office of Civil Rights. And I want every Virginian to know that as their Attorney General, I will continue to be relentless in defending their rights. Wherever we find discrimination and oppression, we have to put a stop to it. No matter what you look like, where you come from, how you worship, or whom you love, you need to know your Attorney General will go to bat for you and have your back. Protection of civil rights has always been a priority of mine as Attorney General. And so this creation of a civil rights office will continue and expand that work and protect Virginians from discrimination. And a couple of new laws that were passed last year will also enhance the work of this office. We were successful in writing a law that would allow for our office to do what's called pattern and practice investigations into allegations of police misconduct. When there are a large number of complaints about excessive force or unconstitutional policing, it's an indication that there's a problem and that it is important to root that out. And whether it is a pattern or a practice or a policy, to have someone from the outside come in and do a top to bottom review to rectify that. And so that's just an example of some of the great work that we're doing in the office. We've got a lot of important legislative initiatives this year. So things like cash bail reform, expanding opportunities for record expungement and simplifying the process to get those expunged, and then continuing the momentum toward legal, regulated adult use of marijuana and expanding the Court of Appeals. So there's a lot of work to do this year. And just thank you so much for giving me a moment or two to tell you about some of the work that we're doing, and look forward to continuing our work together.
Thank you very much for the update and for the information. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us and share that information. One of the things that you hit on a couple of things that I think really caught the people who will catch everyone's attention, especially in reference to wrongful convictions. That is an area that has been a really sore spot with a lot of people, and we find out many people have been really placed in confinement for something, in many cases, many years, come out, find out they were totally innocent. And so that's a very absolute, you could be commended for the effort in that area. So thank you very much for your work there.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for taking time again, like I said, out of your schedule to participate and be with us. We always look forward to the opportunities to, at least we're inside this year. Don't have to be outside with the cold weather. So we're kind of doing this virtual and hoping everything will work out for us.
Well, I'm glad you were able to do it, and look forward to staying in touch.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Brother Torin, are you still there? Okay. Yeah, Brother Bideman, did we have any questions that you have popped up just in general?
Yes, I do have a question that popped up. The question comes from Delray Brown, and the question is, what programs are in place to help return transition smoothly back into their communities with a meaningful work?
Brother Torin, can you answer that? Is he still on?
Mr. Fairchild?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking that Chairman Torian is still here. He might just be tied up with something else at this moment, but he is not logged off yet. I do not have an answer to the question that was posed, but I can tell you that there's been a lot more emphasis placed in that area of getting people back into the community and giving them the tools in order to be successful once they are released. Everything from making sure that they have their driver's license or an ID, or also that they have health insurance, there is a lot of support there with re-entry, and there's a lot more emphasis, as I said, in that area, but I cannot speak to specific programs.
Okay.
Brother Fairchild, we have another question.
Okay.
This comes from Reginald Whitaker. Is there an automatic expungement process in place for individuals that were wrongfully convicted?
I know that question was probably intended for the Attorney General. But I tell you what, I think if we hold that question, and maybe when Cliff or Brother Torian comes back on, maybe we can ask them that question. Just hold that question. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So have you? I guess you'll send me a note when either one of those individuals pop up.
Yes, sir. I'm looking for Cole and Eric right now.
Okay. All right. I would suggest that everyone, if you have questions and stuff, that we can probably put out right now that for discussion, just for discussion purposes, not that we would get an answer here, but just for discussion purposes, you want to shoot those questions and make a note on the side that these are questions for discussion, so that when we do have these moments where we don't have anybody talking to it, now we can at least have conversation, so we just don't have dead air. So if you've got something on your mind or something that's going on in your particular area that you want to have addressed or talk about, please shoot those questions in, and then we'll put those, we'll call them pocket questions that we can pull out and have them available just as soon as we have those questions available, just in case we have those moments when the persons are not, the delegates are not present. Okay. I see two people just entered the waiting room. Is that the possibility of the two of them?
We are working to confirm who's on the phone number, and the second McDaniels is one of the Omega men.
Okay. Oh, the agenda. Okay.
Just kind of glance at it and then, see if any questions arise from that.
I roll it up to keep going up to till you get to the subjects.
There we go.
There you go.
Just tell me when, brother.
When we get to criminal justice reform, you can stop on that, right on that one. Criminal justice reform is something that's been talked about, and policing reform. In both cases, criminal justice reform, and you kind of heard the Attorney General talking about some of the things they're looking at in reference to that, because many people have been convicted innocently and end up staying in prison for over an extended period of time and then let out. But that's a loss of a good hunk of your life when you're in there for 10, maybe 20 years, and especially if you find out you're innocent. So that taking a good hard look at that is a very positive thing. Anyone have any thoughts about that or any questions that would come out of that?
Over a decade ago, the Virginia General Assembly used to have people who were wrongfully incarcerated file claims bills with the General Assembly. And so it was where if someone brought DNA evidence and showed that they were innocent, then they could, have come before, and they were wrongfully incarcerated, then they could come before the General Assembly, file a claims bill, and then the General Assembly had to figure out how much to give them based on how much time they had served. And they stopped doing it that way, like I said, over a decade ago. And they set up a formula that pays based on the number of years, the life expectancy, what type of, the income they would have earned if they were working. All of these things are factored in together, and they put together a package that they give them that includes an annuity where they get some money up front, some money that comes to them over their lifetime, some money towards education. They give them financial support based on that amount of time that they lost in life, including what they would have earned or potentially earned, and the education they would have potentially have gotten if they were able to have been not incarcerated. So there is a mechanism for awarding those funds to them in place, and they don't have to go before the General Assembly anymore to ask for it. And everybody's treated fairly based on the form, not fairly, but what should I say? The same based on the formula. So everybody gets the same formula put towards their situation to get that funding, compensation for having been wrongfully incarcerated.
Okay, thanks for that information. Thank you very much. Have we, brother Bottom, I see an admit person. Is that?
We are still working to confirm this is the same number. We're still working to confirm that number. Ms. Cheryl, I'm gonna text you this number, and if you can let me know if this looks familiar or not.
Cornelius, I can see the number, and I am not seeing it on my list of cell phone numbers for delegates. So I don't know. I'm not sure who that is. I cannot find it on my list.
Okay.
Okay, well, according to their scheduling time, the two I mentioned earlier, their time is passing by. So I'm anticipating two more people at 9:30. So let's hope that we get them in time. Okay. Okay. And so we'll roll it back. Any questions before we move off of that? Any questions, brothers, in reference to criminal justice reform? Any additional questions before we move to the next area? Now, Cheryl, let me make sure. These are areas that in their agenda, these are areas that are being worked on, right? That they're working on?
Yes, sir. They're the priorities. Let's see. I think just reading over them real quick to see if they're ones that. Okay, these are the priorities for this year. Yeah, the Crime Commission had endorsed in one of their meetings the principle of implementing the automatic expungement. So that was something that they had tried during the special session on criminal justice reform, but it didn't pass. But now the the Crime Commission, Virginia Crime Commission, studied that issue, and they did endorse implementing that. So there would be legislation in this session to accomplish that. Okay. And same with the qualified immunity. I'm assuming someone has put in a bill to bring that up again. That was forward during the special session on criminal justice reform and did not pass.
I see the area of legalizing marijuana in an equitable way. Is that they've had conversation in reference to that? Yes, sir. The governor's come out that he is in favor of legalizing marijuana, and that would the reason they say in an equitable and just way is to allow for minority communities to have a bigger opportunity, a stronger opportunity to be able to earn income off of that, or to benefit, I should say, financially benefit
from marijuana being legalized, with the idea being that minority and underserved communities were more impacted by the criminal aspect of marijuana, with getting caught with a little bit, like if they were smoking and then all of a sudden they're in the criminal justice system. So they were more impacted by marijuana not being legalized. So the idea would be to, when it does become legalized, to help those communities who were most harmed when it was not legal.
Okay, okay.
So that they would have those economic advantages. That's what I was trying to.
Okay.
Brother Fairchild, we do have a question.
Okay.
We have a question by Brother McIntyre. This question is regarding passing a bill to defelonize drug possession. Are we talking all prohibited drugs in all quantities?
The answer is no. I do not know the exact, I do not know which drugs would be included or not included, but I do know very specifically that if someone is selling or has amounts that would be considered to be able to be sold, I assume, they would still be charged with a crime. It would more for use, trying to not criminalize people who have drug addictions, that are using it recreationally, not trying to, not engaged in criminal activity at the time that they are using. And it's really to a lot of people come forward with the wanting to support the that idea, so that especially people who have addictions aren't criminalized because they have an addiction. They want to move it more towards helping those people to treat those addictions rather than putting them into the criminal justice system.
We
Okay.
have another question.
Okay. Go down.
This comes from Reginald Whitaker. The question is, releasing body cam footage is listed as a priority. Is there a proposed time limit for that footage to be released?
That I don't know which bills are have been put in with regard to that, but I can tell you that there's been a lot of debate with regard to how long that will be kept, and some of that goes back to whether or not they should have the body cams because of the cost to the locality and the time that it would take to review the body cam footage. But what one proposal that I've heard that I do believe is put in place is that if body cam footage is being used to, or facial identity, any of those types of things are being used to show that the person committed a crime, if they're being used in the prosecution, then they have to reveal that information during the trial that that they used. I think that's more facial recognition, but the facial recognition and the body cam footage, they would have to disclose that during the trial. And I actually think I got that mixed up. It wasn't the body cam footage, just the facial recognition, that if that was used, then they would have to disclose that. The body cam footage, it's really wrapped up in it's financial. And it's a matter of who's going to pay for it, who's going to pay for the storage, who's going to pay for the for reviewing the footage. When the public defender's office and the Commonwealth's attorney's office get that body cam footage, it could take hours for them to go through all of the footage to even determine whether their client is innocent or determine whether or not someone committed a crime. And so that's where the financial part starts getting in, is hiring more people to do those types of things, to store it, to track how long they keep it, and to dispose of it, and all of those things. So that's where a lot of the conversation comes down. And then that holding of the information, as you asked, is one of the big questions that's just wrapped up in lots of discussion and arguments. Nobody can really agree on it right now.
Okay. Oh, Cheryl, thank you very much. You just hang there. You answering the question. So if
Sure.
you fill in a space, because
I'm on deck. I'm ready.
I'm looking at our calendar, because now right now It's supposed to be done by Delegate Don Scott and Delegate Clinton Jenkins. So they have from now till 9:40. At 9:40, we anticipate the Lieutenant Governor being on. So.
And I'll let you know that Delegate Don Scott is really pushing forward with criminal justice reform. He is a criminal attorney, defense attorney. And so he really has a lot of knowledge in the area of criminal justice reform. He's put forward many measures, some that have passed during the special session on criminal justice reform. And I know that he has additional ones in this session. I can't speak to what they are individually, but I do know that that's a very strong, he's very strong in that area of criminal justice reform, and he's fighting strongly.
Okay.
Brother,
right.
I do have a question as well on here.
Yeah, go down.
This question is from Brother Carlisle Brewington. His question is, are there any legal amendments in place or underway that offer relief for the new plaguing concerns of mental health disparities?
Can I pause that just for a second? We have LaSheree that's in the waiting room.
Okay, I tell you what, hold that question and let her in. Let's let her go. So maybe because we're getting behind. So let her in. Delegate Eric.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I apologize about the delay, but I think you will excuse me as I was able to just get a bill reported that will serve to be one more layer of protection for our communities. So thank you so much for allowing me to just jump right in.
Okay, we'll give you a couple of minutes and speak your piece.
Sure, great. No, I offer greetings as, first of all, the delegate from the 63rd District, where I proudly represent the city of Petersburg, Dinwiddie County, parts of Chesterfield County, and a really small portion of Prince George County. But furthermore, as a member of the Petersburg Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, it is truly my privilege to be able to offer you brief greetings. I really just wanted to offer a quick message as you recognize and celebrate your Lobby Day. And that is, if you were to take just a moment, particularly on this day where we are recognizing the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., if you look at the past 10 years of Black leadership in the Commonwealth of Virginia by way of the members of our legislature, we have made tremendous strides, particularly in the last 2 years. Without the voice, without the presence of Black leaders, there would be a gaping absence in issues of importance to our communities. Should there have been more time, I would have been happy to go through those bills in which we were leading on, which we continue to lead on. But what I will say is, even with that success, I want to charge to you all as leaders in your own right who puts public service first, that we continue to need your help. We are doing our part, but there is no doubt that the collaboration is still required. We are fighting tremendous battles to bring about change from an educational standpoint, from a criminal justice standpoint, from an economic and social development, if you will, standpoint for our communities in particular. And while we are doing that work here in the legislature, the advocacy to other members who do not see issues through the same lenses in which we do, as well as just continuing to energize our people to show up and to personalize some of these conversations is just critical. Really quickly, I was very proud to pass and be the patron for Breonna's Law during the special session on criminal justice reform back this fall. The fact that Virginia, a pro-gun state, was able to move something forward like that and quite frankly, lead the country on this issue it is just one example of the work that we can get done when we work together, but also the work that we can continue to do as we try to really relay the foundation on the 400-year or more than 400-year at this point history that our Commonwealth has. Just to mention a few, I am also carrying this session, declaring racism as a public health crisis, a declaration that water is a human right, especially as we have families that are trying to get through this pandemic, but we are seeing them have water disconnections and or just general utility hardship. I am fighting for a record number of resources for our schools. And I just mentioned, a bill I just got passed, which is further criminal justice reform. So I know that I only had a short time to jump in and offer greetings, but I just want to extend myself as someone you can count on as a partner that you can work with. And should you have specific questions that I could answer, and or if you would like to follow up at another time, I would more than offer an opportunity to do so.
Okay, thank you very much, very, very much. And certainly, you can get to us in many ways through either Brother Torin or Brother Hayes, and certainly be glad to assist in any way we can to help you push some of those things forward. So thank you very much. Appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to be with us. Thank you very much. Delegate Cole, welcome.
Good morning. How are you all?
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Y'all have to apologize. I have to apologize. I'm multitasking. I'm in committee and joining you all at the same time.
Okay. Hey, well, thank you. Well, appreciate you coming. Give us a couple of minutes of your thoughts and share some stuff with us. So thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you so much to the Fraternity of Omega. I'm glad that you all are doing your virtual advocacy day today. I miss seeing you all in person with your purple and gold coming all throughout the Capitol. My godfather is a Q dog, and so I miss seeing you all in person. I'm so excited to talk about this session. As we look at everything that's going on, we know that we have a lot to accomplish. There's some great things that we've done since 2020 after taking the majority. We did some great things in the special session, but we still have some other things that we have to do. And I'm grateful for that. You all here advocating today, you're holding us accountable. And I think that's what's key that we have to focus on this 2021 session, because we know that we're having an election year. It's time to hold the elected officials accountable. Those of us who campaigned on certain ideals, those of us who said we would vote for this, we would do that. It's important that we hold true to what we campaigned on. And for those of you who are here today, you know that subcommittees, committees are all virtual now. And so we need you to pay attention to what's coming up in subcommittee and committee. And if your delegates and senators are not voting for what they said they would do, we need you to hold us accountable. We need you to call us out on our votes, and we need you to make sure that we're doing what we're doing, because it is an election year. And so if we're not doing what we said we were going to do, you all can find somebody else to support and get behind. And that's the type of leaders we need in our community right now. Those who will hold elected officials accountable. You said you would do this, Delegate Cole. You said you would do that, Delegate Cole, but I don't see your votes adding up. And some of my colleagues might get upset with me, but we need the right people in these seats who are going to do the right job. We have to make sure that we're fully funding our schools. We have to make sure that we're taking care of workers, especially during this COVID-19 situation. We need to make sure that people are receiving paid sick days, paid family leave days. We have to make sure that small businesses are being looked out for. And we have a lot to accomplish in this short special session, but I believe we can do it. And I know we can do it with your support. So continue to advocate, continue to email, continue to call, continue to meet with your delegates and senators, and let them know what you all need. A lot of us get in this bubble when we're here in Richmond and we hear what our colleagues say, but a lot of times we don't hear what our constituents back home say. And so while you're emailing and calling, you may get on our nerves, but we need to hear your voices and we need to hear what you're saying. And so it's extremely important that you don't let up on your public servants during this time, because we have a great amount of work to do and we're in the position to do it.
All right. Hey, thank you very, very much. We appreciate you coming on, taking time out of your busy schedule and sharing that information with us. We'll certainly take advantage of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. God bless you.
Okay. Kevin, Brother Biden, but I understand the Lieutenant Governor's on. Let's bring him in.
Hello, can you hear me?
Good morning, good afternoon. How you doing? I mean, good morning.
It's already been a long day.
Been a long day. Long day for these last 5 minutes.
Yes.
Hey, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. It's your stage.
Thank you so much, Brother Fairchild. And it is my honor to be with you and the wonderful brothers of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Thank you for your tremendous leadership. And I know that every year you all are so engaged in the legislative process and focused on improving policy in our communities to make sure that we have a more just, a more fair society that reflects our values and that creates more opportunity for the next generation. And so we are at a pivotal moment in the history of our Commonwealth and of our nation. And so your leadership is important, I think now more than it ever has been, because these issues are going to determine what happens with our children and our grandchildren in our communities for generations to come. And some of the areas that we are focused on in this General Assembly session revolve around issues that we've been plagued with for far too long in criminal justice reform. We have a chance to abolish the death penalty in Virginia, which is a monumental opportunity. Virginia historically has been the #1 or the #2 state in terms of executions. And of course, there's been a disproportionate impact in the African-American community, particularly for African-American men. And so there are many reasons to abolish the death penalty, moral, racial, and other, but we now have a once, in my view, and a generation opportunity to do so. We also have the opportunity to deal with discriminatory policies around drugs, particularly legalizing marijuana, dealing with the harm that's been done in the African-American community with over-incarceration, over-policing, that's derailed so many futures, and having a more equitable economic future going forward that really incorporates everyone into our changing and shifting landscape. And something I've championed for some time, conviction integrity units to deal with the issue around wrongful convictions. This is something that the Innocence Project and others have really championed over the years, but we have a chance as a Commonwealth now to join in to ensure that no one is falsely accused, falsely convicted, and that we don't lose years and in some cases lives to the scourge of wrongful convictions. And so those are some of the very key areas that we now have a chance to make significant progress on. But in addition to that, we're focusing in on educational opportunities. I have championed a plan to rebuild our public school infrastructure in the Commonwealth of Virginia, what I call the 40-30-10 plan. And that would rebuild all schools in the Commonwealth of Virginia that are at least 40 years old, to do so with a $30 billion investment, and to do that within 10 years. And that would also create opportunities to raise teacher pay above the national average for the first time in the history of the Commonwealth, and provide a guaranteed summer job or enrichment opportunity to every young person who is available and eligible in the Commonwealth of Virginia so that they can continue their futures. My first ever job was working in Northeast Washington, D.C., where I grew up, in the D.C. Summer Works program the mayor had, and that helped create so many opportunities going forward for me and many other young people. And I want the same set of opportunities here in Virginia. And we know with COVID-19, we have so many significant challenges. I've been working with the governor and the administration to deal with those challenges since we really got hit with the brunt of it last March, nearly a year ago. I have commissioned a racial disparities task force on COVID-19 to deal with the issues that have disproportionately impacted minority and African-American communities. We now have the vaccine rollout, which we are working to ensure that not only can we increase capacity to make sure that more people are able to be vaccinated, particularly vulnerable populations, but that we have equitable distribution so that communities are not left out, particularly ones that historically have been left out. And so that is a large part of our focus now. And we want to make sure that there is economic opportunity. So many people have been hit hard are frontline essential workers who have risked their health in order to continue to help our economy to go forward, to help people get the essentials that they need in their lives to survive and to thrive. But we also know that small businesses have been hit tremendously hard, and that people have lost their jobs, lost their savings. And so what we have got to do is to make sure that we allow people to rebuild the foundations of economic security in their families and in their businesses and in their communities. And that has got to be a long-term focus for us going forward. So these are all issues that are on our plate at the same time right now as you continue your tremendous advocacy at, I think certainly the most important point in my lifetime to have that kind of advocacy. So I am grateful to you. I am very, very appreciative of your consistent and continued leadership. Again, it is virtual this year, but no less effective. And I've seen you year after year after year lift up a standard and fight for what is so important in all communities, particularly in the African American community, to ensure that there is hope, that there is opportunity, there is justice and fairness. And we're now at a moment in time where that is important now more than ever. So I'm honored to serve as your Lieutenant Governor to represent all 8.5 million Virginians. It's been a tremendous source of pride, the progress that we've made together, expanding Medicaid, which I cast tie-breaking votes for in the Senate, dealing with issues around criminal justice reform, supporting our HBCUs in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and continuing to make sure that they thrive. So there is yet more work to be done. But as a member of the Divine Nine, member of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated, and someone who has seen the power of the Divine Nine, even putting one of our own members into the vice presidential office, I know that our impact is yet to be felt around this nation in the ways that we know it can be. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you for having me this morning. And I look forward to any thoughts, questions you have, but also to seeing you all in person once we get to the other side of this, and to all the wonderful things that will be accomplished by the work that you're doing. So God bless you all, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this, for your time, taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. We certainly appreciate it, and I always look forward to having a conversation and dialogue. Trying to keep we're running a real tight schedule here, so definitely would like to ask you some questions, but I think we're going to have to move on so we can keep up, so we don't get behind.
Sure.
The governor's popping up here pretty soon, so we don't want to shortchange him. So again, thank you very, very much for being on board with us and participating.
Thank you. God bless you all. Take care. Thank you for your tremendous work.
Okay,
Bless you.
take care.
Stay safe.
Bless you, Brother Josh.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So, Brother Fairchild, if I could, do we have Senator Mcclellan in?
Yeah, I know she just popped on.
Okay, we probably want to go to her next.
Okay. Senator Mcclellan, welcome aboard.
Well, good morning. Thank you all for having me and letting me pop in. I am right outside of the Senate Judiciary, which is going to be taking up the bill to repeal the death penalty really soon. So I don't have a lot of time, but I had to come in and say hello and thank you to the Brothers of Omega Psi Phi for everything that you all do. Don't know if you all know, but my grandfather, James Mcclellan, was one of the charter members of the Roadside chapter at Tennessee State University, where he worked as a chemistry teacher in 1931. So I feel like you all are family, and it is a pleasure just to see you every year. I'm sorry we can't see each other in person. I look forward to it really soon. You've heard a lot of the wonderful things that we are doing here at the General Assembly, and I just want to take a moment to talk about what we're going to be doing to continue our work to expand the right to vote. And I want to really quickly reflect on what happened last week, or the week before last, but I want to take you back to last Tuesday, or January 5th, when we elected 2 new African American women to the General Assembly in special elections, bringing the number of women to a record high, bringing the ranks of the Legislative Black Caucus up by 2. It was the same night that Georgia elected the first African American man and the first Jewish man from that state. But it was also a night when I happened to be looking through my dad's Bible because we were coming up on the anniversary of when he passed. I found something I hadn't noticed before, and it was a copy of the receipt he paid his poll tax with in 1948.
Hmm.
And I went to bed that night hopeful because the next day we were going to see not only Joe Biden certified, but Kamala Harris as the first African American woman, the first Indian woman vice president. So I went to bed hopeful. And then the next day, as you were, I was disgusted when I saw people try to take by force what they could not win at the ballot. But I went back to that poll tax receipt and I thought about my great grandfather having to take a literacy test and find 3 white people to vouch for him before he could register to vote. And I was renewed because I realized I now sit as a state senator in the former capital of the Confederacy on the Privileges and Elections Committee, which deals with voting laws. And we passed so many that helped expand access to voting and have record turnout even in the middle of a pandemic. And I'm proud that this year we will make a lot of those changes permanent. But also the Legislative Black Caucus is putting forward a Virginia version of the Voting Rights Act that Delegate Marcia Price is carrying in the House and I'm carrying in the Senate that will ensure that no matter what happens at the federal level, since the US Supreme Court has gutted the Voting Rights Act, that we will protect and expand and strengthen the right to vote here in Virginia, because that is our legacy. Too many people sacrificed, fought, and died for us to get where we are today, but we still have a lot further to go to make our democracy, our government by, of, and for the people, one that applies to all the people. So you all are part of that, though. You all have helped us to get where we are. You will continue to help us push forward. And I'm just grateful for everything you do and for you all being here today and for everything I know you're going to continue to do. So thank you and have a great lobby day.
Okay, hey, thank you very much for you taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us and share the information you just did. And thank you, and we look forward to working with you in the future and hope and wish you the best.
Thank you, you too.
All right,
Thanks
take
so
care.
much. Thanks so much.
Is Governor, I noticed, I saw a thing about Pamela Northern. Is the governor in the room? Brother Bideman?
We have Delegate Ayala in the room.
Yeah, I also saw Pamela Northern.
The governor is on.
The governor's on.
Sir. Yeah, they use my better half, but it's me.
Welcome, Governor Northern, and thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule. The floor is yours.
Well, good morning to everyone, and thanks for having me. And most of all, thanks for all you all are doing. You know, this is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. It's something we should all be celebrating and will celebrate. But it's just such a busy time now, and I wish we could be in person. But we're in the middle of this pandemic, and also there's some issues with security. We're doing everything that we can to keep Virginians safe and healthy, and just appreciate all that you do. I always enjoy being with you each year, and I know Delegate Hayes and Delegate Torian are members, and what outstanding legislators these are, and to have our Chairman of Appropriations now as Luke Torian in some very powerful positions. And I've worked with them over the years. Cliff Hayes, he's from 757, as you know, which is where I'm from, but he's doing amazing work. So thanks to all of them. I know you're hearing from a number of legislators that you just heard from Senator Mcclellan, the good things that she's doing this year, to include what she just talked about, voting rights. We have made so much progress. But, you know, I think it's important to recognize that this is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We should celebrate his legacy, the groundwork, the foundation that he built, talking about diversity and inclusion and equity. And while we have made progress since his time, we still have a tremendous amount of work to do. And if you don't believe that, just look around in the world we live in today. Look at what's going on in Washington. So let's keep keep working in the positive direction and keep doing good things for Virginia and certainly this country. I wanted to recognize, and I don't know if she's going to be with you all today, but Janice Underwood, Dr. Underwood, is our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. She took the job a little bit over a year ago and really started from the ground up and has put a wonderful team together, and that has really infiltrated out into the cabinet secretaries, our agencies, our colleges and universities, businesses. But you know, that's the first state position such as hers in this country. And so if you get a chance to say hello to Dr. Underwood, please thank her for all that she's done. I think Senator Mcclellan touched on a lot of the work that is already being done. But if you think about what this legislature has been able to accomplish, you know, over the last couple of years, a couple of things that I just wanted to bring light to, but raising the felony larceny threshold to where it is, and it probably could go even higher. Making sure that individuals that can't pay their court fees and fines can continue to have their driver's licenses so they can carry on with their lives and especially get to their places of employment. The voting laws to have early voting now for 45 days, no excuses to end the voter ID. You know, we need to do everything that we can in Virginia to make it easier, less cumbersome to vote. I was on privileges elections when I was in the Senate, and every time we tried to take a step forward, they would knock us back too. But to have our majority now in the House and the Senate, good things are happening. I know this is not a political group, but I'm a proud Democrat, and I always like to say that, you know, when we elect Democrats, good things happen in Virginia. So personally, I will continue to work on those goals. You know, we've done a lot of work, and there's something to be said about symbols. That's not going to fix all of our problems, but these monuments throughout Virginia, these statues that basically glorify the institution of slavery, glorify people that fought for slavery on a losing cause. A lot of them have come down, and almost all of them in Richmond. We still have the Robert E. Lee standing, but we're going through the court process, but I'm confident in the next couple of months that one will come down as well. And we'll make our capital city in Richmond more welcoming by kind of redoing Monument Avenue and making it an open and welcoming avenue as you enter the state's capital. Also real proud this past week, the decision was made at our direction to remove Robert E. Lee from the nation's capital and replace with Barbara Johns, who, if you've been around me much, you know that she's one of my heroes that fought for desegregation of our schools. And actually, because of her work, when I was in the 5th grade over on Virginia's Eastern Shore, that's when they integrated schools over there. And my family chose to keep us in public schools, and it was one of the best things that they could have ever done for me. So I'm proud that Barbara Johns is going to take Robert E. Lee's place. We got rid of Lee Jackson Day in Virginia. Nobody needed to celebrate those Confederate generals. Made Juneteenth a Virginia holiday. So there's some pretty amazing things going on in Virginia. Just to touch on a couple things, and you're going to hear these again, that we want to concentrate on during this session. The first is restoration of rights. Governor McCullough really started this, and then I've continued. We've restored the rights of over 40,000 Virginians. I believe in second chances, and I also believe that once someone has done their time, in order to get back into society and the communities, they need their rights restored. So we have made that a priority, but we need to make it automatic. And so we're putting in a constitutional amendment this year, and I suspect that there will be support in both the House and the Senate to make that happen. We've actually pardoned, our administration has pardoned more individuals than any previous administration. So we're very proud of that. but the automatic restoration of rights is going to be important. Another area that I've always felt very strongly about for a number of reasons is to end the death penalty in Virginia. For far too long, Virginia has executed too many people. As you all know, some of them have been innocent men and women, and it has to stop. So we're confident that that piece of legislation will get through both the Senate and the House, and then get to my desk, and we can finally end that. Another equity issue that I've felt very strongly about is marijuana. And if you look at the statistics, white people and black people use marijuana at the same rate. Well, it's interesting that black people end up getting arrested 3.5 times more than white people do. That's the way the laws were written, and I suspect intended, and we need to put a stop to that. And I might also add that as far as convicting individuals for marijuana, it's 4 times higher for people of color than not. So again, that's something that we need to move forward on. We've done a lot of work. We certainly want to make it an equity issue. We want to take care of children. As far as when we legalize it in Virginia, we want businesses in underserved communities to be a part of that process. So I think we're doing it the right way, and the time is here to do that. As you know, we decriminalized it last year, so legalizing it this year is an important step forward. And finally, expunging individuals' records. We put money in the budget for this. Charnel Herring on the House side is working very hard with this, but we need to expunge the records of individuals that have been convicted for marijuana offenses, but also other offenses as well. There's nothing worse than continuing to have all this stuff on your record when you've moved on with your lives. So good things happening in Virginia. We couldn't do it without all of you with your advocacy, and I just admire you for being at the table and continuing to be vocal, especially on this day where we honor Martin Luther King. And then finally, I just want to end by saying to stay safe and healthy. This virus is still alive and well out there. Today, we had over 6,000 new cases. We're averaging 25 to 50 in that ballpark, additional deaths every day. And every death is one too many. As you know, it disproportionately affects people of color. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. We've worked very hard to distribute this vaccination, to do it equitably, but also to make sure that people can understand and realize that it's safe and that it's effective. And so I encourage everybody, when your time is there to get the vaccination, to please consider that and take advantage of it, because the sooner we can get this pandemic behind us in the rearview mirror, the sooner we can get our children back in school, the sooner we can get our businesses up and running and get back to being as near normal as we can. So thanks for all you do. Stay safe, stay healthy. And I hope the next time I see you all, we're able to meet in person. But God bless all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Governor.
much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Governor Northam. We appreciate you taking time out to be with us on today. And we really, really and truly understand the hectic and full schedule that you have, but it means a lot for you to take a moment out of your time to stop by the Men of Omega. Every year we've had Omega Day at the Capitol. You've been able to stop by and be with us, and so we certainly appreciate that.
Hey, Cliff, thank you very much. You're looking good this morning, and as I like to say about you, you rock. So you keep up the good work. I'm so proud of you. So thank you.
I want you to recognize also, Governor, that with a little Photoshop, I was able to take care of the lawn and make sure that the floral arrangement was right. It's a little purple and gold going on at the Capitol.
I like that. You know, right here in the middle of January, Cliff, I'm impressed to have the grass that green and the flowers that healthy looking. So whatever you're doing, you keep up the good work.
Yes, sir. Purple and gold. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you very much, Governor. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Brother Fairchild,
Yeah.
I wanted to mention to you, we have Delegate Price as well as Ayala and Don Scott
Got it.
who are there.
Okay, so let's start. I think the first one I saw was Delegate Price, so we'll let the Delegate Price, the floor is yours.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Good morning to the members of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. And thank you to Chairman Torian and Hayes for inviting me to say hello. As the AKA delegate, I bring you greetings from the 95th District, which is mostly in Newport News with a tiny part of Hampton. But it is a great way to start my day, to be able to greet you and to see my Divine Nine brothers still active and still doing what needs to be done during this legislative session. So I'm asking you to continue your work this year, actually and literally, by speaking up, and not just today, but as the legislation follows through the process. This House session, as you may have already heard, is probably the most accessible ever. So you can give public comment in writing, or you can actually testify from the comfort of your home or wherever you are, socially distanced, but also being able to give life to the legislation that we're carrying. And so we know it's more than about just statistics and charts and getting wins. These bills that we're carrying are actually going to continue to change lives. So this year, I am the vice chair of the House Privileges and Elections Committee, and I'm also the chair of the newly formed Voting Rights Committee. And along with Delegates Ward and Aird, I'm carrying the first of its kind, the Voting Rights Act of Virginia. We're working with the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. We're working with Advancement Project and New Virginia Majority and other civil rights organizations. And we've gotten to the first ever Comprehensive Voting Rights Act of Virginia. And so we're really excited, especially since we have no clue what the United States Supreme Court will do when it comes to voting rights. But if they give it to states' rights, then we will know that Virginians are protected, especially those of us that have been historically disenfranchised and targeted and intimidated and suppressed. And that's going to be a thing of our past. We are also working to improve curbside voting. And I'm also working in the areas of housing justice, anti-discrimination for domestic workers, prison reform, access to healthcare and mental health care, and also emergency preparedness. So as the members, specifically the members of the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus, continue to build on the work that we have done with you in 2020 regular session, during special session, we are going full throttle ahead with the bold change that we need. And we need your help to speak up so they can stop watering down our bills. Period. And as always, as you'll hear from politicians today, especially on social media, don't just listen to our words, listen to our actions and our votes. And don't just like posts where they're putting up MLK Day quotes. See if their life actually proliferates the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So it's been a pleasure to say hello, and thank you for all that you're doing for the Commonwealth as well.
Okay, thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to share information with us. We appreciate you, and we support whatever. And we'll also, as you said before, anytime you need help for a push, let us know. We'll push. Thank you very much.
Delegate Price. Brothers, just know this dear sister is one who is a sister of Parrhesia. So she's going to tell it in plain talk, plain truth, speaking and telling it just like it TIS, like it is.
Thank you, Cliff.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next Delegate Paula Ayala. Hope I pronounced that right.
You did amazing, Mr.
Thank you.
Fairchild, or Brother Fairchild. Good morning. Thank you, Chairman Hayes and Torian, for inviting me to join you today. I am just so glad to be with my good friends here, Omega Psi Phi. So I am really glad to be part of the Purple and Gold Day of Advocacy. I don't have any purple and gold, so not like Chairman Hayes. I didn't do no photoshopping, and we're just gonna have to roll with it. I too, share the vision of today and the spirit of today, as you heard from my colleagues and the governor, and talking about the wonderful things we've done in the General Assembly. I was proud to carry same-day voting registration, removing barriers to the ballot box last year. It was touch and go there, but when you have the majority, you can make a lot of progress. One of the things I kind of lament on is all the progress we did last year, from equality to equity to civil rights, human rights, criminal justice. And we're going to continue to beat that drum this year in the 2021 session. Although our session looks a little bit differently this year, our work remains the same, as does mine. I am, just to tell you a little bit about myself, I represent Virginia's 51st district in the House, which is in part of Prince William County. It covers parts of Lake Ridge, Manassas, Dale City. You know, when I first ran for office, I never thought they would elect an Afro-Latina Lebanese Irish woman. That's a lot, but take that all in, because Delegate Hayes can tell you, I will bring all of that passion, that diversity, those diverse voices to the table, because my belief is if you don't have a seat at the table, then you're on the menu. So this year, did you get that, Delegate Hayes? If you're not at the table, then you're on the menu. So we can, amen. We continue to shake the table in the General Assembly. We will continue to fight. I just want to, you know, pause here for a moment and just say, you know, this is a very special day. And as Delegate Price so eloquently echoed, you know, if we're not doing the work that represents MLK and the spirit of all he fought for, as well as advocates and community members throughout history and time to help advance communities of color, then we're not doing the right thing. So this morning I woke up and I was very happy to pick up a book on MLK and just, you know, just reflect. You know, I do prayer, I do, you know, kind of uplifting you know, readings just so I can start my day. And today I started with Dr. Martin Luther King. And one of the phrases that popped out to me this morning, just jumped off the page, was this one quote, which is, "The time is always right to do what is right." And that's what you'll see our General Assembly do. We will take that in spirit. We will take that guidance and just wisdom and insight and continue to fight the good fight. You know, as we continue our work today, I would also to echo, you know, please come support us. We are working on broadband expansion. COVID has really uncovered so many of the discrepancies and disparities and gaps in our communities and the need for us to do better. And so, you know, in the wisdom of Maya Angelou, you know, once you do better, or once you know better, you should do better. And so I will continue to do that great work in the GA with my colleagues. And I thank you for having me today. Don't forget to hit me up, you know, if you ever have a question. Hopefully next year we can be in person together. And as the governor echoed, I wish you all a safe, a blessed, and joyous Advocacy Day, but the rest of the year, because COVID's still around us. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Delegate Ayala. We really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule and sharing information with us. And we look forward to working with you. We support-wise, I'm sure Delegate Hayes will always provide us with some information that we need to come out and do what we need to do to support you. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Fairchild, Delegate Hayes will tell on me, so you'll have that information at your fingertips. I'm just playing. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Okay. Next, we'll have Delegate Don Scott. Don Scott, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me. I want to say good morning to the brothers of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I know y'all very well, but I'm an alpha, and that's cool because we all in the same family. So we all got to be, and I'll tell y'all this, you know, I've only been elected about a year now. Well, I guess I've been sworn in about a year now. And the person who has worked with me from day one, before I decided to run, and all the time that I've been and mentored me and kept me on the straight and narrow, has been my dear brother Cliff Hayes. And Brother Hayes, he's a committee chair for communications, technology, and innovation. He snuck me over to his committee for a minute, nurtured me, grew me, and then he pushed me over to another committee to labor and commerce, and now I'm on that committee. I know that he is a great leader. Another good friend, y'all's other brother, you know, Luke Torian, the most powerful Black man in the Virginia General Assembly, the chair of appropriations, another mentor and good friend and a good colleague, and a good brother. But the things that I ran on and the things that I've been focused on, and one of the things that's listening to Marcia Price and Delegate Ayala is that, you know, we all have our little lane, our little area of expertise. Delegate Hayes is an expert in technology and communications and dealing with, you know, the things, the challenges that we have around protecting our privacy and making sure that's an area where we get equity. One of my areas of expertise, I'm an attorney, I'm a defense attorney. And before I was an attorney and had this nice suit and this nice little delegate pen and everything, I was involved with the criminal justice system. I was a student and got caught up in a thing, and I had to go to jail. And there were a lot of folks who told me that I could never do what I'm doing now, which is practicing law in Virginia, that I could have my own law firm and then run for office. There were folks who told me to sit down, be quiet, and just kind of help from behind. But I knew that I was called to lead in this area around criminal justice reform. And so when I came in, I decided that that was going to be my area of focus, trying to reduce mass incarceration, because I know if I can reduce mass incarceration, I can help get some Black people out of jail and help Black folks get back and be contributing to their community, to be the fathers and dads and mothers and sisters that we know they can be with the right community support. Right now, I believe that America and Virginians specifically, because Virginia started this thing, we have gotten very good at criminalizing poverty. It's no doubt if you look at the top 10 zip codes in the country on incarceration rates, you're going to find that 3 of the top 10, Google it, 3 of the top 10 zip codes for high incarceration rates are in Virginia. Portsmouth is number 3 in one of the zip codes that I represent. I represent House District 80 in Portsmouth. Richmond is in the top 10, has a zip code in the top 10, and Norfolk has a zip code in the top 10. This is no mistake. This is history that is continuing to repeat itself. It's a generational curse, and it's up to all of us to work on reducing the criminal, our participation in this mass incarceration system that's been set up and designed to keep us where we are. Because not only does it impact us from a scarlet letter impact of having felonies and having a criminal record but we need to understand that this whole system was designed to disenfranchise, therefore reduce the participation in the political process, and moreover, keep you from participating and competing economically. So I look at the criminal justice system as a way to prevent people from being able to earn a living to take care of their families, which is why we see so many folks who are unable to come back and get back on top of it and take care of their children, contributing. And we call them deadbeat dads, but we set a system up with fines that they can never get back on their feet. We set a system up that says you have to pay, they have child support that's running the whole time they're in jail. And then when they come out, they got this huge bill. And it looks like, you know, think about when you were 28, 29, and somebody told you you owed somebody $40,000, $50,000 and that you had to come up with it now, otherwise you were going to jail. And that's what we do right now. And so I've introduced bills to change some of that with the child support when you become incarcerated, that it's not voluntary unemployment. I've introduced the bill this session to reduce the opportunities for people to go to jail for committing no new crime. We have over 6,000 folks who are in Virginia Department of Corrections, not jails. There's probably more in jail generally, but in Department of Corrections who committed no criminal offense. What it is they were on probation and they didn't call their probation officer, or they didn't get a job when they were supposed to, or they didn't check in sometime. It's about 14 technical violations that involve no criminal offense that you can get your time, your suspended time that you had revoked and go to jail. And we understand that feeds this prison system that feeds on brown and Black bodies. The system eats brown and Black bodies. And so it's up to all of us to do everything that we can to prevent that. I have another bill around valid court orders preventing juveniles from getting caught up in what it is if a kid is truant, instead of them putting them in a program, they call it CHINS, a child in need of services. Instead of them putting them in a program that they know that they've determined they need services, they'll put them in jail. They'll put them in kiddie jail, detention, 14 days while they figure out what to do. When you put kids in jail, that's traumatic. And it's difficult to come back. And then you're going to interact with kids who are really there for a reason, like they've killed somebody or they've robbed somebody. But you have kids that are in need of service intermixing with kids that have committed an offense already. So I've introduced a bill this year to stop that. And I've introduced a bill that prevents people from going to jail for their first technical violation of probation. So I hope that I'll have all of y'all support. We have our kids out here. If you're watching the news right now, we have our kids out here, especially during the time of COVID. They have no direction. They're not in school. They have to do this. And with kids who have who don't have the right support at home. This is what they're doing all day. We're trying to get them on video and they're not being able to do it. So I hope that we will take a strong interest in how and I know the men of Omega have always been involved with the community. This is our time to double down with your time, talent, and resources to help out. The last thing I'll say, Dr. King, we talk about Dr. King a lot. He was 26 when he was thrust into the Montgomery bus boycott. He was only 39 when he died. We think of him and look at him like he's an old man full of wisdom, but he was a young man. And so I think about all of the time that we've all been given. And I hope that we will all think about how much impact that we can have in that what about 13-year window that he had to really change the world. So again, I thank you for having me this morning. And the last book he wrote was, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community? And right now, some folks think we're in chaos, but I think we'll move through this chaos and get to community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate Scott. You definitely hit a nerve as far as we're concerned, because we have a very strong push on fatherhood and mentoring. And a lot of those issues you talked about, the child support, all, man, you right on point. And whatever we can do to help out in that area, because it's very critical. The father is a heart of the family. And when you trash that, you're really trashing a lot. And it really affects us system very seriously. So thank you very much for your hard work. Keep it up. And, let Brother Hayes know whenever we need to help to support you so he can get us on board. We'll be right there to help you out. So thank you very much.
I appreciate it, Brother Fairchild. Appreciate it. All right, take care, brother.
Okay, the next delegate up is Delegate Jenkins. Delegate Jenkins, welcome aboard.
Okay, if we don't see Brother, oh, there he is. You're muted, Brother Jenkins.
Good morning.
There you go.
Good morning.
Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to come on with you all. One of the things I hate is come behind Don Scott. I tell you, that guy's young delegate is full of energy and vibrant, and does a lot of good work. So but I do thank you all for this opportunity to come on. I'm not one of those aggressive guys. I'm kind of quiet in the background, and you don't see my feet kicking under the water like the duck, but I'm like that duck kicking under the water, trying to make things happen. So I'm excited about this opportunity, the opportunity to work with you guys. I thank you, Omegas, for all the hard work and the coaching and all that you are doing out here. And I tell you, the fact that you all have Delegate Cliff Hayes on y'all's team, that just makes y'all stronger. And so y'all doing some great work. My background is real estate. I managed my own real estate property, and at one time I was a broker for Keller Williams down in the Chesapeake area. Now, somehow, because of civic engagement, I've been thrust out here to doing this job right here. I want to thank Delegate Hayes for giving me that start. One time I was coordinating the city of Suffolk for him. And from coordinating from him, it seems like he just pushed me right on out here. Now, some of my concerns, last session, I was very instrumental in making sure that legislation was, budget amendment was pushed to make sure that eye care and dental was included in Medicaid for all citizens, regardless of age or circumstance, to make sure that that was done. And I'm so glad that during last session that was adopted. I also sponsored some bill for small businesses. And that was very timely, being that the pandemic came along and a lot of small businesses were in trouble, our beauticians and barbers especially. And there was funding set aside to help them stay afloat. The governor was nice about that, and he added a extra $50 million to that to make sure that businesses could stay afloat, and that kept going. This session, one of the things that I'm excited about is always education. My wife is on the school board, and I'm always excited about education. I've sponsored legislation to make sure that the school system in Virginia and teachers are culturally competent. What that means is that they will do studies in African American history so that they have the necessary skills and knowledge to teach it as it is and not some of the made up stories that we heard, but they'll be right on the money. So they'll be trained in that. The other thing that I'm carrying is legislation for the magistrate. Now some of our juvenile defenders, when they get in trouble, they go into detention centers or what have you. And believe it or not, if the person that they committed the offense against is not satisfied with the results, they can come back and ask for more action against those juveniles. So I'm carrying legislation. So once a juvenile has the justice system has taken action against that juvenile, they can't come back again and penalize them a second time for the same offense. Also, in addition to that, I'm carrying a bail piece of legislation, and what that does is make sure that the database for the state of Virginia, when you talk about law enforcement, it all syncs and that it all carries the same information. Now, when you talk to different law enforcement agencies, they have different databases, they load the information in differently, and they don't communicate with one another. Being in the military, I was in the Pentagon, worked in the Pentagon, and if you wanted some information, you could load it in a database and you can search anywhere in the country and find that information because all the databases were synced and they communicated. You had to load the data in the same way and you had to do the search the same way. Well, currently in our law enforcement, that's not happening. You might load something in by first name. Another organization in the state of Virginia might load it in by last name. And you might type in one description, whereas another company in Chesapeake or Norfolk might type it in as in another method. So what we've done is this piece of legislation makes sure that the database across the state of Virginia communicates the same language, it's the same data input, and everybody has it. They don't have to wait for a fax or something to come across the machine and get that information. Everyone gets it at the same time when it's put in the system. And it's not doing any new research. It's just making sure that the data that we currently use and that's available, it all is communicated the same way across the system, across the Commonwealth. So those are a few pieces of legislation that I'm carrying. The fun piece of legislation that I like is a foreign market vehicle bill. And that simply says that for all of our old model vehicles, all old cars, all of our that you see at the car shows and those different places, that the state's requirement matches the federal requirement. Currently, Virginia's requirements for managing all of these old vehicles, show vehicles, is different from the federal requirement. So we want to make sure that Virginia's code aligns with the state code and everybody is saying the same thing. So that's a fun piece of legislation, being that I love automobiles, love vehicles. When I was in high school, I built my first motor car with my motor in the kitchen. My mom used to be upset with me by having a motor in the kitchen. So I like that piece of legislation. But we're working hard to make sure that Virginians get the proper representation that they need. There are a lot of issues out here. And the amazing thing that I've learned is the more that I do, the more that we do, the more that I learn, and the more that we find out needs to be done. And it's because of organizations like yourself, because of guys like Delegate Cliff Hayes and everything, that we stay on top of it and we're given the opportunity to grow and make Virginia better. I appreciate you guys for giving me the opportunity to come on and do what I can and share what's going on in the 76th district down in Suffolk, in a small part of Chesapeake. Thank you all.
Thank you, Delegate Jenkins. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. And appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. Certainly the things that you're working on are of interest to us too. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Take care, Brother Jenkins.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, next we have Delegate Candy King. Delegate King, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Wonderful to be with my brothers of Omega Psi Phi. I bring you greetings from the women of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So to receive this invitation was definitely a highlight of my week. So I want to start by introducing myself. My name is Candy King. I am the delegate for the 2nd District in the Virginia House of Delegates. I was elected a little more than a week ago and really hit the ground running, which, you know, in a virtual space is definitely been very different for me, but I'm no stranger to the General Assembly. I started my career here working with Senator Yvonne Miller, as well as Senator Lionel Spruill. So I was ready to hit the ground running for my community. I was born and raised in Portsmouth, Virginia. I've spent my life in Virginia. I care deeply about working families in Virginia. And so my time this session will focus on a couple of things. One is paid family and medical leave. With the COVID pandemic, we know that working families have been hit tremendously hard. And so I will be working to join other legislators and sponsoring legislation related to paid sick and family leave. A lot of people, people say, oh, we shut down in March, but we never really shut down. For working people, people who work in grocery stores, people who work on the front line, people who provide essential services and do hazardous work, they continue to work to support our families, and now we need to support them. And the next pandemic that rolls around, people shouldn't have to decide between their health and their lives and providing for their family. We need comprehensive paid and family sick leave. So that is something I'm definitely passionate about. I am also passionate about supporting military families. I know there are a lot of veteran and active duty brothers. Thank you for your service. I will be sponsoring legislation that will update the benefits to widows or spouses of those who are killed in action. I am the wife of a military police, a U.S. Army veteran, who was boots on the ground in Operation Iraqi Freedom 1 and 2, who lost a lot of friends. So I've seen the sacrifices that many families make. And so I'm proud to sponsor that legislation as well. Voting. So I was in a 30-day whirlwind. The election was announced on December 8th, I believe it was, and election day was January 5th. And we were able to work very hard to get the vote out, but we need to make it as easy as possible to vote here in the Commonwealth. So I will be working with other legislators to sponsor legislation that expands curbside voting options, which is something that is really helpful to our senior and those in the disabled community, as well as addressing some of the processing of our absentee ballots. And so that's what the session is like for me. I have been assigned to 3 committees that I'm excited about. One is finance, public safety is the other, as well as privileges and elections. And so that is me. And I want to thank you all, especially, I think I see my NAACP president here, Mr. Cozy Bailey, who is always in the community working so hard for us here in Northern Virginia. Thank you for that. And I want to thank you all for everything that you do. Thank you for always showing up in the community, showing up in Richmond, keeping us accountable. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me or my office if I can ever be of service.
Thank you, Delegate King. Thank you very much, and wish you the best in your future as you move forward. Since you're beginning, hope you make some big strides while you're in it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right.
Okay, next we'll have, go on, Brother Hayes.
Yeah, I was just saying, take care to Delegate King.
Okay. Next we have Delegate Jay Jones. Welcome, Delegate Jay Jones, and the floor is yours.
Well, good morning to my dear brothers of Omega Psi Phi. I bring you greetings from the 89th District, which is the southern and western parts of the city of Norfolk, where I have been born and raised and am the descendant of Q men, my grandfather, my uncle, my cousin, all members of your illustrious organization. And so I would just with a big smile that I say good morning to all of you today. And I want to thank you for your advocacy, because you know what, you could be a lot of other places on this fine Martin Luther King Day in 2021, but you're here because I know that if we were in person, you all would be descending upon the Capitol with Brother Hayes and talking to us about the issues that are very, very important to you and your communities and this Commonwealth. And so it speaks volumes to your organization that you're doing this. And I want to thank you guys for giving me a couple of minutes. I will be quick because I've got my two best friends coming behind me, and Delegate Bourne and Delegate Bagby. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on a couple of things that we're working on in our office that I think might be of import to you guys and interest to you guys. Obviously, social justice is a big deal for all of us. This has been a cause for my family for generations. I am so proud to have introduced a bill to create a civil rights division in the Office of the Attorney General so that they can root out racism in our banks, in our government institutions, and even within that office itself. I think we are long overdue for an entity that can really protect us at the state level, because we've seen so many incidents over the last year that have necessitated and warranted this action. And I hope that we can get the support this year to get that through. The other thing that I wanted to highlight for y'all that I think is really important, not just for this group, but for the state at large, is our amendment on the restoration of voting rights. To me, we are working under a system that has been embedded and covered with the vestiges of Jim Crow and the Black Codes. And the Black Caucus, my colleagues and I have been working diligently to root that out and to make sure that we are bringing this state into the 21st century as it relates to how we access the ballot box. We've passed a tremendous amount of legislation last year during special session in advance of the elections in November. But for me, voting is sacred. It is what makes us American. And from the beginning of this country, things have been done to make sure that we don't have the opportunity to do that. That's why, along with Senator Mamie Locke, I have a constitutional amendment in this year that would make it automatic for everybody to vote no matter what. Your right to vote shall not be abridged under any circumstances. And I hope that that's something that we can all get on board with and move forward with, because, again, that's what separates us from every other country on this planet. But we can't talk about this country being the greatest and being the best if we don't treat our people equally under the law. And this is a step toward that in my mind. And I think that's very, very important. So those are a couple of things that we're talking about. I'm gonna stop talking now. It's been a great pleasure to be able to join you guys this morning. Congratulations again on your advocacy day. I cannot wait to see you guys in person, and I'll be talking to you guys soon because we've got an election to go win in June, and I hope I can get y'all support. So thank you very much. Thank you, Cliff, and thank you to the brothers of Omega Psi Phi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Delegate Jones. We appreciate you. Appreciate you taking time and sharing your information, and look forward to working with you. Thank you very much. Okay, next I have is Delegate Lamont Bagby. Delegate Bagby, welcome aboard, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you all for inviting me to share with you all this morning, and also thank you, Cliff, for working alongside you all to make sure that this is always a time that we cannot make time to talk, but also take time to listen. And so it's also it's awesome pleasure to share with you. I listened to Delegate Jones just a moment ago, and it was a pleasure to hear him, and I'm going to echo some of the things that he said. I think he tried to quietly let y'all know that he's running for Attorney General, but as his friend, I'm going to let you know he's running for Attorney General. And also, this unique session has afforded us an opportunity to not only take a look back of what I think was a successful year, looking at 2020 and our special session in 2020. I'm really proud of the things we've been able to accomplish. But the thing that I realized is we have so much more to accomplish. As you all know, is a person that you all may be very familiar with that does not let me forget that we have accomplished a lot, but we have a lot more to accomplish. And he goes by the name of Governor L. Douglas Wilder, who celebrated his 90th birthday just yesterday. And when I called to tell him happy birthday, he wanted to make sure that I knew the work that was ahead. And we have been able to do or touch on everything from criminal justice reform, or I like to refer as justice reform, because a number of the individuals that are impacted with the justice system aren't criminals. And then also is on the back end of it. We've been focused a great deal on expungements, and I want to give credit to our leader, Charnel Herring, for leading us in that effort, along with Don Scott, to make sure that the individuals, when they come out, have a fair opportunity and access to housing and jobs, which then impacts their children and generational wealth. Today we celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and I was listening to one of his sermons yesterday in which he was, well, actually not a sermon, it was an interview, in which he was discussing how at that point when he was engaged in that interview, he was talking about how what America had done to this point, as they pat themselves on the back, was sort of a bargain, all of the bargain items. So, they were patting on themselves on the back for lunch counters, which they actually made money off of because we then started spending money with them, more money with them. They credited themselves with transportation and bus rides, but they actually made more money after the bus boycott because it made it easier for transportation and us getting and being a part of their network of transportation. Schools, it made it easier, and it made it easier for them with education being integrated. The tough part is always, and Delegate Jones just touched on it, the tough part comes when there is a change or a fairness of the wealth gap. And so one thing that I'm really excited about with our marijuana legislation, which probably is a marquee piece of legislation for us this year, is that it is going to make it more equitable. And for the first time in our Commonwealth, you will see people that look like us get a fair share of the industry. And not only that, but it's going to also run right alongside our expungement as it relates to individuals that are incarcerated right now for selling a product that other individuals are prepared to make millions and billions of dollars off. We're also excited about our voting right. Marcia Price is carrying our legislation related to our voting rights, and I'm carrying a piece of legislation to make Sunday voting finally a thing in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We did a lot of work with making sure that there was access to the ballot box leading up to this last election. Just as Georgia and other individuals have saw an increase in voter participation, we saw an increase because we did the right things to make sure that access and safety at the ballot box was a thing. And also, I know Delegate Hayes has been working aggressively to make sure that our data privacy is not only protected, but we have knowledge of what individuals are doing with our data. And so I know if he hadn't spoke about it, he will speak about it. And then your good brother, Delegate Torian, who is the money man here, has made sure not only in the 2020 budget cycle, but as we move forward, that our HBCUs get their fair share of our budget. We're working aggressively. I know some of you may be graduates of Virginia Union. We're working aggressively to make sure that Virginia Union, we're able to help them. But if you talk to Dr. J at Norfolk State or Dr. Abdullah down at Virginia State, they will tell you that, well, they will tell you just by their facial expression because they're smiling from ear to ear, because never in the history of the Commonwealth have our HBCUs here in the Commonwealth been such a part of our budget and had such a voice with not only the General Assembly and our Chair of Appropriations, Luke Torian, but also the governor being very focused on making sure that we get our fair share. So there's a lot that we have accomplished, a lot more to be done. And I'm just excited about our legislative agenda. I hope you've already been able to see it. And it tackles everything from COVID response to voting rights, to education, to energy, you name it, we're ready to claim it.
Thank you so much, Brother Bagby, and my dear friend. Brothers, let me just say that, we can go home now. Brother Bagby has told the whole story about the good work of the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus. He is our chair. He is my friend. Let me just say, if you listen to everything that he just rattled off, I'm sure inside you got excited. Not because it's something that we're talking about, because that's something that amongst ourselves and our various chapters, or I'm sure in other frat meetings and sorority meetings of the Divine Nine, all of these issues we have been talking about. The difference is we've been able to do something about it with the elections that we've had in recent years and the number of people that we have as our membership as members of the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus. It's not just a situation where we're able to type up a piece of paper and show what we're going to try to do. We're actually getting this stuff done. And so you have to remember, please, as we go to the polls in November of every year, that you remember these members, these folks that have come before you today. Please remember them, because if we don't have these people elected as elected officials in the House and the Senate, none of this would be possible. And the fact is, if that number changes and goes down, and yes, I am trying to scare you, all of it will go away. So we have a lot more to do, a lot of work to do. Brother Bagby, we certainly appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be with us as well. Brother Fairchild.
Thank you very much. Hey, Brother Bagby, again, thank you very much for sharing with us and coming before us and letting us know. And I definitely got the message that Brother Hayes has laid out, the importance of what you do and how you do it. And the fact that we talk about it's done, that's good. So anything we can do to help support you guys, thank you. Just let us know. And I'm sure you let Cliff Hayes know, and he'll let us know. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Next we have, let me see. Let me do my schedule.
Brother Bourne, Delegate.
Brother Bourne, yeah. Delegate Bourne. Delegate Bourne, the floor is yours. Welcome aboard.
Well, thank you, Mr. Fairchild. Thank you all to the men of Omega Psi Phi that are on the Zoom today. Special thank you to my favorite Omega man in the General Assembly, but we won't tell Luke, Cliff. But I'm really in a tough spot here, because you've heard from Jay Jones, who I believe is going to be the next Attorney General of Virginia. You've heard from the two that I saw, at least that have spoken, Delegate Chairman Lamont Bagby. So I'm kind of in that broken record slot here, where I'm going to just really reiterate and emphasize kind of all the work that we've done and all the work that remains to be done that we're committed to doing. We made a lot of progress last session, regular session. We made even more progress on justice reform during the special session. But really, it comes down to our core beliefs, which we've held as a Black Caucus for so many, many years. It's really that of being the voice for the voiceless, and being able to be in a position where we can help those who may not be able to do or help themselves with certain issues, certain challenges. And so for decades, we've seen policy after policy really continue to put their foot on the necks of the least and the left out. And so what we're trying to do is strengthen those folks so that they can rise up and really take advantage of all the opportunity that Virginia and America has to offer. We have been dogged on our determination on everything from healthcare equity to educational equity, justice reform. And one of the most important things we did in the last regular session is something that is no secret to anybody on this call and anybody on the Black Caucus, because it rips apart the communities that we represent, and that's the issue of gun violence reduction. And I do want to tip my hat and give a special shout out to Delegate Hayes, who did a wonderful job shepherding a bill that really just put some reasonable common sense parameters on when and if you can have a gun or a firearm around children. And it was absolutely, you had to almost laugh to keep from crying to see how hard the other side fought that bill. The idea that we would not take every precaution we could to keep firearms away from children is really a tragedy. And so, Cliff, it was wonderful. But really, I mean, all these issues are no secret to Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated or any other member of the Divine Nine. And I know as a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, we take great pride in all the work that we've done heretofore. I know we stand on the shoulders of our predecessors because whether they were elected or not, the men and women of the Divine Nine have been at the forefront of every major civil rights movement, every major piece of progress that this country has seen. And in less than 48 hours, we will take another giant step when a member of the Divine Nine is sworn in as Vice President of the United States. And so, because you've heard it all before, again, I just really enjoy the opportunity to come before you guys. And unfortunately, I had to follow Delegate Bagby, Delegate Jones, and others. But really, I mean, we've got a lot of work to do. We appreciate the support that you all give every year, coming up to the Capitol, making sure your voices are heard. Because the people, whether you are Democrat or Republican, they need to hear your voices. Everybody doesn't live in one of our districts. Everybody doesn't live in a district where their representative supports the same ideals and principles that they do. But it's even more important that the folks who don't hear from us and know that we're watching, know that we are going to use our ballot to make sure that we do get people in there that support us, support our communities, support our families, and support our issues. So Cliff, thank you again for organizing this. Thank you for allowing me to have just a few minutes to address the good brothers of Omega Psi Phi. I was with the men of Kappa Alpha Psi earlier this morning, and I think later this week I'll be with the oldest, the coldest, and the boldest. So I really do appreciate the opportunity to spend just a few minutes with you guys. Not sure if you're doing questions, but I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have. But just thank you again.
Thank you very much, Delegate Bourne. We appreciate you and the time. I understand when you guys work together as a team and you make things happen. That's great. Thank you very much.
That's
and
right. Doesn't matter who gets the credit as long as we get the job done.
Absolutely. That's right. That's right.
Just know, brothers, that Brother Bourne is one that fights. He's ironclad. I mean, they'll come at him throwing all kind of foolishness. Doesn't even faze him at all, with eloquence. I mean, and passion at the same time. He still gets the job done. So we appreciate you, Brother Bourne, for taking time out your schedule. We just wish that you would elevate your Photoshop skills and your flowers that you have in your flower bed there around the Capitol couldn't also be purple and gold. You're muted.
He's muted.
Well, Cliff, if you'll give me a tutorial, I'd love to be able to turn them black and gold by the time I speak to the alphas. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Okay, next we have Delegate Angela Williams. Then that may be the last person. If it's not, let me know. Delegate Angela Williams. I'm sorry, Delegate Angela Graves. And then I missed that last name. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to be here. I am Delegate Angela Williams-Graves, and I am very new to the House of Delegates, but not new to public service. I spent 10 years in the City Council, and many of the brothers of Omega Psi Phi have been very good to me. Part of the reason why I have been able to win elections year after year has been because of the help of the brothers of Omega Psi Phi. So I want to first say thank you to you all for all of your help and volunteering during campaigns, because I may be the person elected, but it takes a whole village of us to help me get there. So thank you very much. I will just say I kind of feel like my colleague that came before me, but I'm a preacher's kid, and I know better than to come back behind and try to preach the sermon over again. So I'm going to go with ditto to what all the brothers before me have said, and just let you all know that I am very honored and excited to be here in the House of Delegates. Looking forward to working with the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus to advance issues that will help to level the playing field for Black and Brown people, as well as for women. And so I'm here to work with you and to work hard for you, and to work with my brothers of Omega Psi Phi. My pastor is an Omega, my father was an Alpha, and my legislative aide is an Alpha. So I am surrounded with great men in my life. And so I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to address you, and thank you for having me here so that I could introduce myself. And I look forward to an opportunity when we can do this again in person.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate you taking time to share that with us, and we look forward to working with you.
Same here.
Wish you the best in the future.
And brothers, just to let you know how important it is for us to be involved, not only during our normal elections, but from time to time, there'll be a trickle effect, if you will, where there'll be a need for a special election. And in the case of then Delegate Joseph Lindsay, who was elevated to a judgeship, it created an opening in the House of Delegates. And that's the seat that Delegate, my dear friend and sister Graves has filled that seat. She and Delegate Candy King, who was on just a little bit earlier, were elections that were won in the special election. Those elections are extremely important as well, because a lot of times folks will see that there's a special election and think that we're not going to turn out. And so in the case of both of those elections, and I'm sure Sister Graves will agree, it was critical to get the brothers and our families out to put a shoulder to the wheel to help hold on to this seat and allow Sister Graves to represent that district. And so we're so happy to have her and welcome her with open arms to the Virginia General Assembly and the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus.
Okay, and again, thank you very much. One of the things we want to do, Brother Hayes, now that I'm sure are there any others? I think we got everybody. I went down the list that you sent me. Okay, we were in the process of, when we first got started, several questions popped up, and I certainly would like to give Cheryl credit and thanks for filling in for you, because she answered several of the questions. She did very good. So we're giving her an A+ for that and a hand clap, and thank you for that. But we still left some questions on the table, and since we kind of flipped our agenda around, you guys would have been first. So now you can come back. Now that you're back, you can answer some of these questions for us. And Brother Bideman, can you shoot the question one at a time? Don't give them to him all at once. One at a time, and see if we get the answers to these questions. And brothers, you've heard the conversations that have gone on, and I definitely appreciate the hard work that these people have done. I mean, you guys have done tremendous work. Down through the years, we kind of noticed we made the progress, and we definitely want to keep that thing going. Sometimes good work requires good people, and good people have been present, and good people have done a great job. So thank you all very much. And Brother Hayes, it seems like you've taken a leadership role in helping a lot of make a lot of these things happen. So we appreciate you and what you do.
It's a collective effort. Brother
Okay.
Fairchild, before we get to all of the questions, we just want to let the brothers know that Delegate Graves, well, all of our legislators have a lot of committee meetings and things that we're hopping on and hopping off and jumping in. And so we so appreciate them taking time to carve out a part of their schedule to be with us. So Sister Graves, we certainly understand if you need to hop off, we do understand. So with that, Brother Fairchild, we're happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay. So, brothers, I know you've been. I thank you very much for your time and attention to the listening to the information that has been shared by everyone. So now, if you have questions, please shoot them, and we'll see what we can do with getting some answers here. Brother Bideman.
Yes, sir. First is a comment from Franklin Dunn. On the behalf of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, 3rd District, Central Area 1, Brothers of Richmond, Charlottesville, and Harrisburg, want to extend greetings and welcome to all to the 3rd District 2021 Virtual Legislative Lobby Day Zoom call. We're honoring MLK Day observation, thankful for Brother DR, Conrado B. Morgan, leadership and coordinating this experience with Brother Fairchild's committee and automation. That was just a comment. First question comes from Aaron Donnelly, and he shares he was raised in Dale City and have never seen so much hunger for families due to recent events. What is being done to help these families to survive?
Well, brothers, just to let you know, to Brother Donnelly and all of our membership, we have, through our budget, been able to allocate many resources toward food insecurity. Particularly during this time, our food banks under special session, as we dealt with the budget, we were able to afford additional resources to those food banks in the area to distribute resources and to make sure that our kids and our families were able to have food during this pandemic. And additionally, proposed in the governor's budget, and of course we'll deal with that here in the session, the General Assembly. In the House's version, we'll be putting our budget together as well, is to continue much of the efforts when it comes to eradicating food deserts in our communities. And for those who don't know what food deserts are, these are communities in which there is no source of nutritious grocery items or grocery stores in those communities within a certain radius, up to 1.5 miles or so. And so we think that it's extremely important to support efforts and initiatives to eradicate food insecurities in our communities. Next question.
Next question.
Next question comes from Brother Delray Brown. His question is, will there be opportunities offered by the legislature for minority ownership of dispensaries?
As a great question and a great keen insight, as Brother Bagby, Chairman Bagby, indicated, there's been a lot of talk around and a lot of disproportionate negative impact on the Black community and communities of color when it comes to sentencing in our criminal justice system, when it comes to possession of marijuana and those who have been caught with marijuana possession or accused of it in many cases, as Delegate Don Scott mentioned, so many people. And so there's been a concerted effort to make sure that if, as proposed by the governor, that Virginia goes to fully legalization of marijuana, and that there are these dispensaries dispatched across the Commonwealth, that there is some fairness and justice when it comes to the procurement and those who are allowed or given the licenses to actually be a dispensary. And the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus has been working with a few companies and organizations that are already experienced in this space in other states where marijuana is legalized. And so it's our hope that they will get a good look. As the governor mentioned before, the Commonwealth of Virginia now has a director of diversity that works throughout every aspect of the Commonwealth's laws and agencies to make sure that equity does exist. And so when it comes to these type of jobs and positions and organizations being allowed to operate in the Commonwealth of Virginia, if this bill passes, then certainly we lend our support to that issue, that Black and minority-owned businesses are in effect a part of this mission, not just in lip service, but literally. We want to see the fruit on the trees, if you will, and not just lip service.
Okay. Next, Brother Biden, you have another one?
Brother Fairchild, this is Brother Poplar. I do have another question for Brother Hayes. Brother Hayes, this is one we asked earlier, and this is from Brother Carlisle Brewington. The question is, are there any legal amendments in place or underway that offer relief for the new plaguing concerns of mental health disparities?
There are a number of bills that have been proposed when it comes to mental health and how such a challenge that is to us in every aspect in the Commonwealth. Historically, as you know, in the community, mental health challenges have been something that have pretty much been something that we've tried to kind of bury and pretend doesn't exist. But if ever before, we'll notice under this pandemic, the intense and exponential need for mental health to be addressed in every aspect and every way when it comes to our educators in our school systems, not just the children, but those who are actually the teachers, the principals, et cetera. We need to address that issue. When it comes to our kids in our schools, we need to make sure that that is the case as well. And so that's why you'll see that we're happy to support initiatives to put more school counselors in our schools and to make sure that they carry out the function in which they were hired and not be under a title of a counselor. And then they're like working cafeteria duty or security in the school, but not necessarily being allowed to perform the duty of being counselors in the schools. I'll just say, as Delegate Bagby mentioned earlier, we have been able to, in an unprecedented way, with Delegate Torian, Chairman Torian, chairing appropriations. And I also, as a member of appropriations, with the chair of capital outlay. So any construction dealing with any issue in the Commonwealth of Virginia's properties, that's going to come before the committee in which I chair. And also being a member of higher education subcommittee of capital of appropriations. I'm happy to present a budget amendment this year in that regard as well. I was contacted by Dr. J there at Norfolk State University as they request to be able to hire additional counselors to have available as a part of their team there for the students that are on campus. And by the way, Norfolk State actually is in person as they carry out this session. There's a significant need for psychologists and psychiatrists there on the campus to help deal with the students that are there. And so I'm carrying a budget amendment to that regard.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a question. The last time, we did our panel discussion, and I thank you and Brother Torrin for participating, and also Delegate Nick Charles from Maryland. And you guys talked about working together. I just wondered if there are any handshake agreements between, since we all kind of exist here together, between DC, Maryland, and Virginia, that you guys are working on together.
Well, as always, brothers, in that Maryland, DC, Virginia area, there are no real borders. I mean, according to law, legally, you'll see that there are barriers, there are borders, but it's not uncommon for folks to live in Maryland, go to church in Virginia and work in DC and vice versa. And so as you traverse that area, just know that there's cooperation going on between the legislatures, between Maryland and Virginia. And by the way, now that we have been able to secure the Senate and that we do have control of the House, the Congress, the House, and then now control of the presidency, the trifecta, if you will, maybe we can get DC statehood. That's something that many of us in Virginia support, many in Maryland support. And so we want to be behind and help DC with that statehood that they've been asking for so long. Besides that, during the special session, there was a significant piece of legislation that in conversation from Brother Charles, Delegate Charles of Maryland, in which he said, posed a question during our very good town hall meeting that we had virtually, politicking. The question came up of what can we do to get rid of the bad actors in law enforcement. Brother Charles mentioned the case of someone from another state had been fired, and then they ended up showing up, popping up in Maryland on the rolls and getting hired as a police officer, only to later discover some of the bad activity that he had inflicted on individuals in his previous employment. He was doing the same thing in Maryland. Well, in the Commonwealth of Virginia, during the special session, as we address criminal justice reform and reforms into policing, one of the bills that passed was to say that you no longer can just simply resign your post as a police officer, and that's enough. So if we know and have that information, then the records, the personnel files will be open and available to other law enforcement agencies when they want to do research on your background and your history of employment as a police officer. It'll be known whether or not you have some questionable behavior in your background. We have to remember, brothers, we're coming off of a summer of the horrendous, egregious, in my opinion, murder of a Black man, a human being, that we all saw in Brother George Floyd, with a life. And I'm not asking you to look for a photo or to Google a picture of George Floyd. I'm asking you to Google the video footage or go to YouTube and watch the video footage, only because it's through that means you can really, really get a picture and a vivid understanding of what has happened to this human being. We know that these stories have been told time and time again around this country, where folks are saying that these things are happening. But for it not for video footage from our cell phones these days, we'll still be wondering what really happened. And so with that, there are a number of things that we're able to work together on. A passionate piece from Brother Fairchild has been a fatherhood initiatives, things that we can do to codify better in our states, whether that's Maryland, Virginia, DC, when it comes to strengthening the fatherhood in homes. And so we're going to need the help of the fraternity as we're dealing with that issue. When it comes to education in our schools, many of the brothers are educators and administrators in our school system, some even superintendents. Just know that the three states are working together on things like that as well. And then, of course, as mentioned by Brother Bagby, and I'm not sure if Cheryl, well, let me take that back. I'm pretty sure Cheryl probably has mentioned an important bill that I'm carrying this session. That is an important bill to the whole country, actually, in the Commonwealth for now. But it deals with data privacy and protection. We believe that your data is just that. So your personal identifiable information is yours. And in the advent of hacking, stolen identities online, your data being sold on the dark web, it does happen, brothers. There are all kind of data brokers that pay to resell your data, your information on the webs and to other entities and companies without your permission. And when I say your permission, I mean your informed consent, because I guarantee you in most situations, you are consenting, because we all get the little box when we're on the web and we want to use a certain website or piece of social media that says, in order for you to proceed, please read, these 50 pages of text of legalese terms and check the box that you agree. And in most cases, people don't even realize what they're consenting to. Other countries consider your personal identifiable information sacred, just as your social security number, for instance. But in the age of open data, where so much data is being shared, we need to make sure that our data is protected and that these companies are not selling it and doing whatever they want to do and making money off it in the case where you were not aware that it was being used. And so you have a right to know what's being collected about you. If it's erroneous, you have a right you ought to have the right to correct that information. You ought to have the right to delete it. And if it's being sold, you ought to have a right to opt out of your information being sold. That is at the crux of the bill in which I'm introducing during this session. California has passed a bill, and many other states, I think it's 30 states, also last year, who attempted to get it passed, but only California passed their form of that legislation. And so in Virginia, a place where it's been documented to have data centers to the magnitude that we actually host close to 70% of the world's internet traffic flowing through Ashburn, Virginia, or Loudoun County, Data Center Alley. We ought to be a leader and when it comes to the data protection and privacy protection for consumers. And by the way, brothers, the NAACP, the Urban League, and other civil rights organizations say that data privacy rights are civil rights. And I just so happen to agree. So wherever you are, just keep an eye on that bill that we have that'll be coming out very soon. It's still being drafted and wrapping up some of the finalities on that bill and that legislation. But just as soon as I get the bill number, I can forward that to you, Brother Fairchild, Brother DR, Morgan. We'll forward that to you all so that you can disseminate that to our brothers and our members.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Brother Biden, do you have another one?
Yes, sir. This comes from familiar name to you, probably, Delegate Hayes, Mike Harris. Mike Harris asks, will schools come on board with the new marijuana bills by adjusting their no tolerance policies? He goes on further to share his view with how schools also discipline people of color differently as it relates to marijuana and several other issues.
Yeah, it's always good to hear from my good brother Dean as well, and friend, Brother Mike Harris, PG, Pi Gamma. We appreciate you. Certainly, as it's been said, we're pushing this session. The governor has already indicated the importance of his passion for legalizing marijuana in the Commonwealth, and that's full legalization. And so with that, that piece will take care of itself. And so in our school systems, when it comes to that use, as long as those are of age, if you will, it will be a legal matter here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. For those parents, I'll just say that this session, I am carrying a legalization marijuana flower bill. In other words, right now, it is legal for the cannabis ingredients and the oil to be used for medicinal purposes, for the oils to be used in for medicinal purposes. What my bill will say, will do, if successful, is allow the plant to be used, not just the oils, but the plant itself to be able to be used, i.e., for medicinal purposes. Those individuals with medical conditions, i.e., glaucoma, cancer patients, epilepsy, etc. It's been documented through the medical community that marijuana does have a positive effect on those conditions and others. It'll be left up to the discretion of the physician or the medical doctor prescribing the marijuana to actually be used. That is a bill that I'm submitting this time so that it can take immediate effect here in the Commonwealth, whereas the governor's full legalization, as you know, it will take a couple of years, if not more, to actually stand that up in the Commonwealth in such a way enforcement, etc., can take place. So we certainly stand ready to support it.
Delegate Hayes, there was a question earlier, this is Cheryl speaking, that I was not able to answer, and it had to do with the length of time that body cam footage is held. And my answer involved a whole lot of, there's arguments about that, and it's still under discussion, and the cost associated with it and storing it and staff for it. But I didn't feel like I really covered it very well. So if you could talk about storage time for body cam footage, because
Certainly. Thank you, Cheryl. Brothers, if I haven't said already, I believe I have the most awesome team in the world, not just the Commonwealth and the General Assembly, and Miss Witherspoon, legislative aide, and Miss Cheryl Reddington, my chief of staff. When it comes to body cam footage, and I'm speaking from firsthand experience as one who has worked in technology and law enforcement now, since 1999. I can tell you that body cam footage is something that's pretty much been on consideration for many of your localities where you are. And depending on the vendor that they choose, a lot of different scenarios can take place. Some store that footage in the cloud. Some store footage on-prem, as we call it, on premises. So if they have their own service right there within their own departments, they can actually store that footage there. But the question is, how long can it actually be stored and used? Perhaps as the chair of the Communications, Technology, and Innovation Committee and the chair for the Joint Commission on Science and Technology, that might be something that we need to take a look at, what the time frame actually is for that footage to be stored. When it comes to data, we believe that it only should be stored for its amount of time for use in general. That's any data. And so when it comes to law enforcement, I think it's only apropos that in those cases it's stored for the time that they think they may need when it comes to some type of case that they're pursuing and the like. Your cities, actually, if they make that decision to allow your police or sheriff's departments to go to body cam footage, and they contract with some vendors like Motorola who have evidence on demand, is what their system is called. They store it in the cloud. That is a subscription based model. With storage being as cheap as it is today, what I recommend is that you push to ask questions. One, is your law enforcement agency using body cams? And if they are, what method are they using for the storage of that footage? Because that could quite honestly be competing against resources for education, for your roads, for whatever in your community. If they're going into some of these agreements with the subscriptions, such as one that I mentioned before, that could exceed like $1 million a year for a subscription. So annually, the locality would have to renew that contract or that agreement to continue paying on an ongoing basis up to over $1 million a year. Whereas if they invest in the local infrastructure and hardware, they could store that footage and with one-time costs, get plenty of storage capacity with $50,000. And so you do the math, invest in the $50,000 infrastructure with a server and disk space, or you can continue this subscription in the cloud for millions of dollars that could be going towards other things. Sorry for the long answer to that question. In that same vein, we just took up a bill today on artificial intelligence and facial recognition that's used, and quite often when it comes to body cam footage or any video footage, or even still images for that matter. We took up a bill today sponsored by Delegate Aird that passed out of my committee and now will go to the floor for a full vote. There are some companies that offer facial recognition software that will literally scrape the internet comb your Facebook pages, comb your Twitter accounts, comb your Instagram footage, etc. for pictures, create databases, and then sell that database to law enforcement through apps. Many of the situations are that the chiefs of police and the local city councils don't even know that their police departments are using this. That bill today that passed out of committee and going to the House floor for a vote will say that any situation in which a police officer is using such an app, they have to get permission by the local city council or mayor. Any university police department that's using this software would have to get permission from their board of supervisors, the board of visitors, to have such an application. So sorry for the long answer, but sometimes these things kind of take that kind of explanation. Brother Fairchild, I think you're muted.
Brother Byman, you have any other questions?
Yes. This question comes from Reginald Whitaker on the topic of marijuana legalization. How will Black and Brown ownership of dispensaries be prioritized practically? For instance, will Black and Brown prospective dispensary owners be prioritized for small business loans?
The quick answer to that is something that I said earlier. First off, it is a priority for the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus. We've had these conversations with the governor as well when it comes to second part of your question again, loans, small business loans. So there'll be all eyes on this process to make sure through the SBA designations. There's a process, brothers, in the Commonwealth, not just for dispensaries of marijuana, but any situation in which you own a business through SWAM certification, you can be put on a list as a small women and minority-owned business in the Commonwealth to help us focus on turning this from just conversations about more business and procurement with Blacks and or minority-owned businesses to a reality. Next question, brother.
Okay, Brother Byman, another question?
Yes. This question comes from Aaron Donnelly. What is the formula base of the wrongfully accused to be compensated? Is it based on a person having a college or postgraduate degree, or is it based on a midline of income?
And Delegate Hayes, I'll interrupt here for a second. We were speaking about that earlier, and I explained that when someone is wrongfully incarcerated and they present DNA evidence and are found to be innocent, but they've been incarcerated, that the state does have a formula and a plan that they use in order to give compensation to that person who was wrongfully incarcerated. And that includes everything from life expectancy to the amount of time they served and what they possibly would have earned during their time if they were able to work rather than be incarcerated. So I think it's kind of a follow-up on that question.
Sure, thank you, Cheryl. And no, your education or your college matriculation should not have anything to do with the formula as such. But it does beg the question to me, it does strike me that this is an area that we do need to take a look at to examine what that formula looks like. For generations after generations after generations, there are a number of pieces of legislation and laws on the books of the Commonwealth that have not turned out to be in favor of the Black community And so we're going to be combing through a lot of areas, and I'm going to flag this one to make sure that not only it's just, but that it's fair. Oftentimes we hear the perplexing question of whether or not justice and fairness is one and the same. And the answer to that question, in my opinion, is that there is a difference. Many will say it's just as long as we follow the law. Well, the question is, what laws are you talking about? Because there have been some horrendous laws on the books that were not fair at all. You know, at one point in our history and in our path, there were all kinds of things that said that slavery was legal. And then there was a period of Jim Crow laws on the books that wreaked havoc on Black lives for many generations after. We had to go through a period of trying to straighten out some of those laws. So here in the Commonwealth, we'll just say that the Commonwealth is not unique in that, and we need to go through in any and every way, undo many of the vestiges of Jim Crow that are on the books even today. So brothers, if you discover anything that you consider unfair, that you need to bring to the attention of us to change laws in the Commonwealth, then we implore you to do so. I'll just say there aren't many situations where lawmakers, members of the General Assembly, are sitting around going, ooh, that's a great idea. That ought to be the law. Quite honestly, we get hit up from our constituents with ideas, and then we carry it forth to become legislation. And so being the good men that you are of Omega in the various communities in which you represent, the chapters where you are, I'm sure you come across things all the time. And so, Brother Fairchild, Brother DR, Conrad Morgan, how wonderful would it be? And it's one of those things, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? But once you get it started, the cycle of it can bring forth much fruit. Wouldn't it be nice that when the district meetings come together, that you vote on items, resolutions to become legislation, or that you believe are a part of your legislative package? That can come in two forms. You can break it down to be actual laws that you may have discovered are in other states that do not exist in Virginia, or just conceptually an issue that the fraternity supports. And if those resolutions pass during district meetings, at that point, Brother Fairchild, you can kind of take it up from there and begin to put together a package during the summer months of what you would like to see in the General Assembly the following January when we meet. And then you get that information to Brother Torian and I by, say, November timeframe. Then when we have a deadline to introduce our bills, we can actually introduce the bill in December for that January session. And so that's a kind of a cyclical structure that can probably prove to be very fruitful in the future. Once you kind of get on that cyclical nature, you'll find that brothers are able to and chapters are able to bring forth legislation that can be meaningful in not only changing lives, but impacting communities.
Brother Hayes, I'll tell you, that's kind of interesting you bring it up, because I think not met, maybe been last year, maybe year before last. We did have a brother who brought up a thought, but I think you guys addressed it though. It had something to do with some of the laws that were passed and related to your driver's license. But anyway, but that thought process of bringing it up, but the individual brought it up. But that would probably be a good idea to have that kind of thing pop up during a district meeting. At least you give brothers opportunity to put input. Right. So that's a good thought. I'll talk to you about that, and we
And
might
And
put
I'd
that in
like to
place.
caution, if I could just caution, this year or this session, Delegate Hayes and all the other delegates were given a limit of only 7 bills that they could introduce. So, so just to keep that in mind, it might be better with 1 or 2 ideas rather than 10 or 15.
Well, that's a good thought because we don't want to rain on them. But that was that. In fact, this was just, but in fact, it was just one bill, and the question was how you put that together. I think we had collected some information that started the conversation, but I don't think it went anyplace. So we'll see. That's a good thought. We'll keep that in mind.
And Brother Fairchild, just as mentioned before, I think the question came up about how with the third district, we traverse different states. It also gives fruit for if one of the other states come up with, or other areas in which are incorporated into third D, if they actually have a bill that's passed
Yeah.
that's not in Virginia,
Yeah.
or vice versa, then it'll be good to share that idea with those chapters. And then, through the district or through this committee of brothers, you can recommend that to those, the respective state that's not adhering to that particular idea or notion.
Yeah. I mentioned something like that in reference to shared parenting, because several states had kind of picked that up, and I mentioned it, from Maryland and also Virginia. So I know Maryland did some work on it, but I don't know how far they got with it. I know you guys said you talked about it, but I don't know how far it got. But that's that's a good thought.
Absolutely.
Got it. Okay. All right. We got probably time for another question. Well, maybe 1 or 2 more questions, and that's it. So, brother Bideman, what you got? Anything?
I do. This question is: once marijuana is legalized, will there be any process to relieve many of our young folks and others from charges on their record that prohibit them from getting jobs, housing, and other opportunities?
Thanks so much, brother. And so I'll just speak globally about that notion and not just specific about marijuana, but in Virginia, as it stands right now, there is no such thing as expungement. You cannot get your record expunged in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And that is something that was eye-opening to me, even as coming to the legislature. I, along with many other Virginians, believe that there was a process to be expunged, to have your record expunged. But the truth is, in Virginia, there is no such vehicle for you to do so. You may have heard the governor earlier mention this issue. You may have heard Delegate Don Scott mention the issue, as well as Delegate Bagby and Bourne. During this session, I believe it's been proposed and that through Delegate Charnel Herring, our leader of our caucus, is proposing that there would be expungement. And she chairs the courts committee in the House. So that'll be an interesting pathway to legal expungement here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And so if that passes during this session, then I would imagine yes is the answer to your question. Long answer, but short answer is yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll take 1 more question, and that will be it, and then we'll start putting a wrap on this thing.
This question it is from Ted Braggs, and is pointed to Delegate Hayes, you, Fairchild, Brother Fairchild, or D.R. Morgan. Can anyone comment on any fraternity initiative to allow open support of candidates?
Well, you know, if Brother Morgan,
Yes, Brother Fairchild.
you want to address that? I meant that with the C4.
Yes, 501c4 Omega for Network for Action is the way we support our candidates. We've requested brothers to send their name, if they're running for office, their website, whatever, to support them. But that's where we support them at, through Omega for Network for Action. And the Grand Bosses is in support of it, and it's passed and it's up and running. As a matter of fact, Cedric Spencer is the director for that right now. So yes, we are available and we are doing it and supporting brothers locally as statewide and international wise. Matter of fact, Brother Cliff Hayes, Brother Vincent Robertson, and Brother Luke Torrey names were put on the list, as well as people running for office when they had to run for office. So we're good to go.
Okay. All right. We're going to first thing. Let me say thanks to everybody. I mean, this is a good session. It was kind of interesting because we changed our agenda around, and I appreciate the flexibility of everybody being capable of handling that change. We had to do it audible, but it worked out very well. So thank you very much. Want to thank Brother Hayes and Brother Torrin for your work in setting this thing up, and certainly Cheryl, you did a super job setting in for Brother Hayes this morning when we first started, because the questions were asked, and I'm saying, okay, who's going to answer that question? And you picked it right up. So I thank you very much for your work in here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And Brother Hayes, please share with all of the individuals that came in and talked to us how much we appreciate them passing by and sharing their thoughts with us and the work that's being done. It appears there's a lot of great work. You guys have done a lot of great work, and certainly anything that we can do to be involved, to support, help, push, make things happen, we certainly would be interested in doing it. Also like to say thank you all very much for your support in the past efforts with the panels and the other things, working together. And I think this past election that just occurred for the president, and he also said it's important when we can be a force to be reckoned with. And the Divine Nine certainly has shown its strength in a lot of ways. But I noticed I got a lot of comments about what went on down in Georgia, and I end up with a conversation with Michael Blake, who is the vice chair for the DNC, and he talked about Georgia, and he said, Georgia, we got to make this happen down here. And the brothers showed up and showed out down there. They did a great job. But he did make the comment. He said Virginia's next, and so what his whole thought process, we want to make sure that everybody gets elected in Virginia. So I'm sharing that with you guys. He's got his eyes on you guys, and it's certainly one of those things. We definitely want to keep you guys in there because you're doing a great job, and we want to keep that progress going. So he did make that comment. Virginia's next. So that's that you're on the target. So I think that's it, and I thank everybody. I'd like to thank Brother Biderman and the whole automation crew, guys. Thank you very much, because you guys did a super job. You made it easy for me, because last night I was concerned how we gonna do this shift, and then when I almost panicked a little bit when Brother Hayes said he had to disappear. I said, well, okay, this is gonna be interesting. So, and then Cheryl, you helped me, because I said if they ask a question, I can't answer that question, so I'm hanging out there. But everything worked great, so I thank you all very much. Great job. Enjoyed every minute of it, and I hope you guys got something out of it. And thank you for participating. Thank you everybody for showing up. I think, because I really want to make sure that we had good participation for the governor, lieutenant governor, and the attorney general, so they can see that we're serious about what we're talking about, what we're trying to do. Based on the expression, they realize that we're serious. So again, thank you very much. Before we shut down, I'd like to have Brother Biderman like to pray us out. Before that, Brother Morgan, like to give your comments before we shut down.
Yeah, thanks again, Brother Fairchild, and ditto to everything that you said. Thank you for your work on this session. This is the first one we've done. This is historical for the 3rd District of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. We will have this session posted on our website and social media outlets. God bless you, your families, and the 3rd District of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Thank you all for attending. Have a great day.
Let us bow our heads. Martin Luther King, one of his quotes is, "Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into friend." And right now, God, we thank you for you being our friend. We bless you for all the information that has been shared. We just pray and we lift it up to you so that it will be glorifying and prosperous, that it will bear good fruit. God, we just thank you for you just continuing to lead the way. God, we as we leave this session, we never want to leave your presence. We ask that you continue to be with those who are in need, Lord God, and you know who they are, whether it be a health or financial or someone to just say and encourage them with some words of encouragement. God, we just pray that you would be that one to help out. And then God, we just mindful to thank you and give you the glory in everything that we do. It's in Jesus' name that we pray and always give thanks. Amen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Another introduction.
Delegate from Chesapeake, Delegate Hayes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, members of the House, we have also with us today watching, as they have during this session and as is customary each session, the men of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated 3rd District that I and Chairman Luke Torian are so excited to be members of and proud to be members of. Madam Speaker, members of the House, the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated was founded over 109 years ago, November the 17th, 1911, on the campus of Howard University. The fraternity's motto is "Friendship is essential to the soul." On that November evening in 1911, 3 scholarly students decided to join with an advisor to form this fraternity based on the principles of manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. Madam Speaker, members of the House, they have over the years been here to share with us, to lobby the General Assembly on matters regarding education, matters of economic development, matters of criminal justice reform, as well as ways to mentor and provide health care for all of Virginia's citizens. Madam Speaker, we ask that the House extend a warm House welcome to the members of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity 3rd District.
Thank you very much, Delegate Hayes, and welcome to Omega Psi Phi Fraternity. Hope they are enjoying their legislative day. We are sorry we cannot see you in person. Appreciate your popping in virtually. Certainly appreciate all that you do for the community. And on behalf of Chairman Torian and Chairman Hayes, welcome, and we're thrilled that you could join us today.